All right, Google says we are live. So this is Sam, and this is Chalice and Chains YouTube channel, and today we are playing Uncharted Worlds, which is seriously my favorite Powered by the Apocalypse game, so this is very exciting. And the setting today is going to be a sort of mashup between the TV shows Dark Matter and The Expanse. So it's going to be a very sort of dark and twisted sci-fi. Should be really fun. So I've got four great players here who have all been very active in the G Plus community, including the man himself, Sean Gomes, who has created this game. So I'm very excited for that. And I am going to let these guys introduce themselves. You're going to notice that they will not introduce their characters because they don't actually know, well, their characters don't know who they are when we start this game. So I'm going to start from my right, so actually from my left. So I will start with Aaron.
Hi, I'm Aaron. I too think Uncharted Worlds is my favorite Powered by the Apocalypse game. And I will be playing a character.
Excellent. Excellent. And if you guys have any projects or channels or whatever you want to plug, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, no worries. And if that is it, then I will go over to Justin.
I'm Justin. I'm also going to be playing a character. Uncharted Worlds is awesome, and it changed the way I thought about role-playing.
Cool.
Just a second.
Oh,
Stop
yep.
that. Seriously, you guys.
Yeah, if we can make Sean blush before the game's even started, that'd be good.
I generally don't blow smoke up people's behind, so I wouldn't say it if it weren't true.
I'm terrible at receiving compliments.
No pressure.
Well, Rob, if you've got some really good compliments that you want to get in now, now's the chance.
Well, I think I'm the newbie here because I just got the game last week.
Oh,
And
awesome.
I love it because so many science fiction games are exercises in math of a higher order, and I'm an English professor, so
There you go.
you can imagine how math and I are not friends. So I like a game where it's natural language. I like, compared to some of the other Apocalypse games where the kits are kind of fixed, the playbooks are fixed. I like that you can mix and match, and that's a real big appeal to me. So I'm looking forward to playing for the first time tonight. And by the way, my character may indeed be humaniform.
Excellent. Well, all right, and last but not least, Sean.
Hello, I'm Sean Gomes. As they mentioned, I wrote the game. Therefore, I can't say that it's like my favorite card, but anyway. Yes, that's me.
That's proof.
I will say I have not watched either of the reference sci-fi shows, so I'm going in this completely blind. I haven't had a chance to watch any sci-fi shows since my son was born, so
Oh, wow.
my wife and I are just catching up on Babylon 5. That's how far back I am. So
Wow.
Awesome. Okay, well, I think that'll be good, actually. So, yeah. So, all right. Well, we'll get right into it. So, Sean, you rolled a 1. So,
I guess I'm first.
yeah. So I'm going to set the scene here. You guys. Well, no, actually, Sean, you wake up, and all of a sudden, it's like you're jolted out of whatever slumber you were in, and for a minute you can't see anything but this just bright white. No image, no nothing. It's just this piercing white light, and your head is just pounding, and it's pounding in this rhythmic sort of tone. And as you kind of come more and more into consciousness, you realize that it's rhythmic because you hear this wah, 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 and then you hear this voice say, "Life support critical. Immediate action required. Life support critical. Immediate action required." Wah,
Do
wah.
I have control of my limbs?
You do.
Okay.
Yep.
Quick limb check.
Yes.
Just shake and feel my face. See why I can't see anything.
Yeah, and as you do that, you actually kind of feel this like kind of hot sort of plastic feel above you, and you kind of push on it a little bit, and you realize it's a hinge to this like door or whatever with these white lights above you. And so as you kind of push it, you start to realize you can start to actually see images around you.
All right.
And you realize that you're in this sort of pod kind of thing, like you were in this bed, and now as your eyes start to take in the surroundings, you see these other pods around you, but more so you're now starting to see this like orange like strobe, and you realize that you're in this large room and these lights are flashing, and you're hearing this bzz, 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 amongst the mwah, mwah, which you realize is a klaxon from a ship.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
All right, so I'd say that instinctively, just like first reaction is yell for diagnostic. There's a voice talking, so I'm going to yell back in it, and diagnostic.
Yeah, and all you hear is the continued mwah, mwah, life support, critical, immediate
Well,
action
okay,
required.
I guess that counts as a diagnostic. Kind of stagger around looking for, I guess, an access panel, because I guess there's no voice commands here.
Yeah. So you kind of get up and you realize that
Oh, sorry. Were we vertical or horizontal? My apologies.
So yeah, no, you were. So it was like if you were laying horizontal on a bed.
Okay.
And so you can kind of sit up and
right, roll out, and then
yeah.
and then stagger around looking for, I guess, something with buttons on it.
Yeah.
I think even without proper, like, first thing in the morning, you default to what you know instinctively.
Absolutely.
You're looking for the snooze.
That makes sense, definitely. And you actually know kind of instinctively that if you were, you look at, immediately, you kind of look to the far end of the hall, and there's a door there with an access panel. And you know that that's the door that leads out of this room. You don't know why you know that, but you do, and you know that sort of beyond that door is probably where you need to go.
All right, awesome. So walk through, quickly glance at the other pods as I'm walking past them. Can I see anything inside, or are they like, are they clear, or are they like plastic?
Yeah, so it's a good question. They're actually, the answer is sort of both. They look almost like a glass thing, but they're filmed. So it's like this gray film. Yours does not have that anymore because it's open, so you could see through the glass, but the other three you cannot.
Okay. Is there anything blinking on them that says that they're like dying or something like that, or do they seem okay?
Yeah, so for some reason you've got this sort of mechanical sort of idea in your mind, and you realize that the answer to your question is yes and no, because the whole ship seems like life support is going to stop here pretty soon, but you kind of get the impression that these particular devices, as long as the ship still has power, they would be okay.
Okay. All right. So it's life support outside. All right. Interesting. Okay. So yeah, stagger towards the control area, and I have no idea at this point. Like, I don't know the ship, so can I even access it? Like,
well, and that's a good question, and it's actually at that moment that you realize you have no idea who you are or where you are. Like, this room seems somewhat familiar. You almost like know where you need to go, but beyond that, you have no idea. So how does that strike you? What kind of goes through your head as you realize that?
So this is the kind of thing that it would. So my character has checking my hands, old, weathered, calloused. Like, this is someone who has seen a lot of outdoor work, and and I could just feel it in my joints, that kind of thing. This guy's not young,
Hmm.
and has a lot of, I guess, behaviors ground into him over the years. So he can feel certain, I guess you could say, instincts or directives that have been so hammered in through repetition that the muscles know what they want to do. And he's just like, why am I doing this again? And he just stops. He's just like, okay, I feel like I know what I want to do. I just need a moment to figure out why I need to do it. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, I've gotten my instructions. Why am I obeying them again?
Right. Excellent. And if only you had a moment, but as you're kind of having that realization, again, that just piercing sound pierces your brain. Mwah, mwah, life support, critical, immediate action required.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't seem like anybody else is handling it, so I don't want to die. Like, all right. So, what kind of control panel-y thing are we looking at here?
Yeah, so it's a standard kind of access panel on a door, and you, this is something that doesn't seem weird to you. Like, this is something very normal. You kind of, you look at this thing and you know what you need to do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so you would be able, I'm not going to make you roll anything. You could literally just open the door if you want.
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously, I don't know if you saw, this is a sidebar. My character doesn't know this, but newer technology is already kind of foreign to him. He's seen so much tech go by. That's why his interface has gone from what used to be +1 when he was a kid to like -1 now.
Yeah.
The virtual interface is still blinking 12 on it.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, and this is such standard technology. Like, I mean, this would be the same kind of access panel that would exist in any home on any
Right.
door. So this is very normal. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So just like
yeah.
slap it open,
Yeah.
go out into the next area, and yell, "Is anybody there? We need help."
Yeah.
But then again, I mean, there's klaxons, so like, actually, that's a question. Beyond the door, assuming the door opens,
It
beyond
does.
the door, are the klaxons out there as well, or is this local to our? Okay, so
Yeah, there. It's all. You get the impression that wherever you are, this is a central message that is broadcasting throughout this entire facility.
right, so it's not just the room back there that needed a technician who fell asleep at the wheel or something.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, so
So you are now, you're kind of in this hallway, and this is an access port. And for some reason, you realize that if you were to head directly straight down this hallway, eventually this is going to lead you to the main control area. But you also, there's some familiarity to you. You know something is digging at your mind that, like, if you were to kind of go off maybe one corridor down to the right, you're being drawn that way for some reason. You don't know why.
Right, so I'm actually going to say that I'm feeling trepidation at the fact that I don't know why. Sorry. I'm feeling trepidation at the fact that I don't know why, and if there's a problem, maybe one of the other guys in the pods will have their memory and will be able to actually lead this rescue. So I'm no good right now. Like even if I do get to the control panel, what am I going to do? If I am a crew member of this place, I can't remember my access codes.
Yep.
And actually, what am I wearing?
That's a good question. I'm going to let you decide what you're wearing.
All right. So look down, and it's literally just a comfy pair of jogging shorts, a pair of like, they're basically just wool boxer shorts, synth wool, I guess, medical grade flip flops, and a tank top, just in kind of
with,
like
with socks.
No, we're not that bad. Mostly, I guess the flip flops would be to prevent like athlete's foot in the decontaminated. Anyway, yes, actually, probably just barefoot. I'll rescind that. Just like
Yeah.
barefoot, cotton boxer shorts, and a tank top, and
Yep.
of course, he's got the paunch, and he's got like the hairy legs, and and he just looks down at himself like, okay, yeah, I at least I know what age I am, and it explains why back and hips and knees are starting to complain.
Nice.
He's like, I am completely useless. I don't even have a key card on me. I have nothing on me. Like, check
Oh, no.
pockets. No pockets. Okay.
No pockets. Yeah. So what did you actually sort of enter into the hallway, or are you still in the
I'm
main
at the
area?
doorway looking out, and if we're talking in cinematic terms, I just got that dolly in, pan out thing
Yep.
of like the hallway stretching, and I'm like, I am in over my head.
Yep.
Close the door again, turn around,
Yep.
and stagger towards the other ones, and hopefully one of them will be able to, I don't know, have voice command or something.
Sure. And as that happens, you actually hear first and then see these like sparks happen, and the door to one of these other pods, or the little whatever it is, like kind of breaks open and then opens up. And Justin, your character is just jolted right into consciousness. You don't even have a chance to like react. It's just like, and your eyes are wide open. The whatever the screen that the pod that you were in, it's like flipped up, and you can immediately you're assaulted by all of these sounds and light and whatever, and you hear life support critical, immediate action required.
So I'm kind of just looking around, and I don't know how to process all this. There's all these things going on around me, and I'm looking at this pod, and I realize I don't know why I was in this pod, and then I realize I look around and I see this older guy, and I'm looking at him, and I realize I don't know who he is. And then I just kind of look down at my hands, and I look at my body, and I realize I don't know who I am. And I want to just kind of scream. I'm freaked out, and I want to kind of fall back, but I instinctively don't, because somehow I know that if I do that, somehow it's going to, like, give me away on something, and I can't do that. So I'm trying to keep my composure. And I'm trying to open my mouth and speak and figure out what's going on, but all that can kind of come out is I'm looking over at this old guy, and I'm like, what? And I'm kind of trembling a little bit, but you can tell that I am trying not to tremble. And I just kind of uttered again, what?
So, can we even hear each other over the klaxons, or is this one of those yelling moments where we're just kind of mouthing how we have to get out of here?
Yeah, you could definitely hear each other. I mean,
Okay.
certainly it's loud, but yeah, you could hear.
Okay, so, like, stagger over to him and look him straight in the eye and try to see if look for recognition in his face, basically. Like,
Who are you?
Damn it!
There's your answer.
Okay, so I just said, stay put. Gonna see if one of these other ones. Walk over and look for a big red release button. I'm assuming that there's some sort of emergency. Hit this button in case of emergency on the pod.
Yeah, and I think that you would look at it, but based on the fact that this is fairly advanced technology, I would say go ahead and, if you're doing it quickly, I would say face adversity. We'll say with, do we want to do expertise or interface? Probably expertise.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, this is a mechanical challenge. Then my hands know what to do, even if my head doesn't. All right. So, and excuse me. I just need to make sure that I'm doing this correctly.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Rolling 2d6. That is a 5, but +2 because I have expertise.
All right,
So,
excellent.
right.
Yeah, so let's see. So yes, you kind of just instinctively start opening this pod. You start typing in something, you push this button, and it goes, but it's very like jarring to the person inside. And I would say that I'm going to go ahead and say, Aaron, you wake up and you immediately see this like old man's face staring down at you, and maybe he looks shocked or whatever. And just as that happens, this big spark comes right out of the control panel, and Sean, this would just zap you, right in the, right in your hand or whatever. And so I would imagine you could brace for impact if you want to minimize some of the damage, but it's definitely gonna hurt you just a little bit.
Well, just before that happens, maybe like something instinctive is taking over my body, and I just very, 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 very quickly run and kind of push this old man to the side, like out of the way of the pod. And I just take off at this lightning kind of speed where I'm like a blur, and I kind of knock this old man away from the pod. And I'm like kind of like lying on top of him, looking him in the face because this is really weird to me. I don't know how I did that, and it's weird kind of being sitting there crouched on top of this old guy.
Okay. All right. So yeah. So then in that case, go ahead and face adversity with metal, and see if you can kind of get to him and knock him out of the way before this shock will blast him.
Okay. Let me see. Dice 2 dice 6. And you said with metal.
Yep.
That is a 6 plus 1 is a 7.
Okay. So. Yeah, all of a sudden, Sean, you feel this and this momentum as you kind of get pushed out of the way. And so you're going to definitely stagger back and hit the ground. You're going to fall on your back. And Justin, as you do this, you're kind of falling nearly on top of him, but you actually do take the shock as you kind of pushed him out of the way. Yeah, so... and so, Sean, let me ask you this. Would you say that brace for impact would make sense in this case?
Yeah, I would say, as a side note, I mean, it's fine. It passed already. That would have been a get involved. I mean...
That's what I was thinking.
The result is exactly the same, and
Yep.
no difference, just the name for people watching in case they wanted to replicate to play. When you try to save someone else from their own misfortunes, usually it's a get involved.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well, so thanks for pointing that out, definitely.
And yeah, sure, I mean, actually, yeah, in this case, that would be really up to you of whether you think that since he's putting himself in harm's way, he's not really trying to protect himself.
Yeah, it's a good point.
I would say maybe brace for impact isn't all that relevant.
Okay. Yeah, so then that's fine. So then I think in this case, you're gonna just take a minor shock. So I would say you have a minor injury here at this point, Justin. But Aaron, you kind of all of a sudden your just senses are assaulted by this, right? You wake up all of a sudden, you kind of come into consciousness. This where it's very, at first all you see is this just white, and then you see everything around you, and you hear that wah, 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 life support imminent. But before it can sort of penetrate your brain, you see this like fast movement, and you hear this, kind of get out of the way, and then this. But you manage to you don't get shocked, but now you're here having witnessed all of this. What do you do?
So I wake up in sort of like all this happens around me, and I'm terrified. I mean, I am a 13, 14-year-old girl, and there's a whole bunch of crazy things going on, and there's a moment of like sheer terror on my face. And I want to say that the next thing that happens is my face goes completely slack, and I go into a state of abnegation, and let let it take over to save me, to get me somewhere safe.
Yeah. Sure. And so that happens, and you're still in the same situation, but maybe you don't have this fear anymore. Maybe now you're in this like work mode. So what do you do?
I climb up out of the pod and calmly close the lid, and look around at all of the sparks, and hear the klaxons and things like that. I believe I would make a beeline out of the room towards wherever I would go for life support.
Yeah.
And try to find access to that.
Okay. Absolutely. And Sean, would you have closed the door before you kind of came back, or would you have said the door would have remained open?
I actually, I did say that I had closed the door because basically I got this almost a feeling of horizontal vertigo when I was looking out the hallway, so I was like, close, turn around.
All right. Awesome. So yeah. So Aaron, you kind of are heading, and you instinctively know where you're supposed to go. You know that the door will lead to the hallway, and you know, and right now consciously you know that you're on a starship, and that if you head directly out this door and down the hallway, that will lead you to the bridge, and the bridge is where you can access life support.
Okay. Does the door open for me?
I don't know. Does it? What do you like? What are you thinking? Like, I need to go through this door, or are you going to walk up to it? Like, what are you going to do?
I'm going to walk up to it and hit whatever sort of controls it has in an attempt to open it.
Yeah, for sure. And it just opens up. And in the hallway outside, you see these sort of dim lights, almost like it's on reserve power, and they're flashing, so it's a warning light. And you're still hearing that life support, critical, immediate action required. And
still completely, sort of neutral, slack-faced. I'm going to look back at the other two and then turn and walk straight to the bridge.
Okay.
Very, very sort of like a military posture thing going on. Like everything's very stern and proper.
Yeah.
My character recovers from sliding on his back across the floor. Just like puts out a hand and is like, "Wait, it's dangerous out there. Don't go by yourself." And does the grunting standing up, and I know I can say that in this group because we all know exactly what that grunting standing up is. There we go. We just like basically grunting and grumbling about kids getting ahead of themselves and not sticking together and blah 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 blah. So yeah, it's going to take me a while to get moving.
Okay, but you're going to go after him, essentially, kind of follow him?
Okay. Go after her, yes.
After her, yeah.
So,
Sure.
so that damage I just took, are we calling that stun damage, or what kind of damage are we calling that? Because it was like an electrical shock.
Yeah, it was just like a minor shock, so yeah, we're going to just call it, it would be like a little burn, maybe on your hand or something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Or we'll say, like, maybe I've got, like, some exposed, like, my skin there, my jacket's gotten singed through, like, any t-shirt I've gotten. And I'm a little kind of like, got a little bit of a headache, a little bit nauseated, but I think I'm going to recover. And I see them just kind of getting up and walking there, and I'm kind of like, what's going on here? Like, why are you going there? Like, why don't we try to figure out what's going on here? But something tells me I don't want these two to get hurt. So I'm slowly trying, like maybe bracing against a wall, trying to get myself up. And I utter, "Wait!" And I kind of follow behind them, making sure that nothing happens to these two.
Yep.
So I'm also going through this corridor towards wherever it is that they're going.
I'm actually gonna stop and check on the final pod, which is still closed. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so and I'm like kind of dithering between following the girl or opening this last pod in the hopes of like maybe somebody who like won't act weird. And I just I point to the um, other guy who had pushed me out of the way. I didn't see him, by the way, so I didn't see how fast he moved. I was focused
Yep.
on the panel. For all I knew, he was standing right behind me before he pushed me out of the way.
Yep.
So I just say, follow her, make sure she doesn't get hurt. I'm going to wake this guy up, and then we'll catch up with you. Okay?
Which I'm totally cool with because for some reason, I don't know why, I feel like a special need to make sure that nothing happens to this young girl here. So,
All right. So, and this time I try to do the sequence correctly because last time, of course, I messed. I know where I did what I did wrong last time. I overloaded everything. I'm not going to do that same mistake again.
Awesome. Yeah, so go for it.
All
Yeah,
right,
same
so,
thing.
should I face adversity again, or are we assuming that I know what I did wrong?
Yeah, I was saying we're assuming you know what you did wrong, and I would think that your instincts as well would kick in at this point.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So do the proper decompression sequence, proper wake up sequence. This person will probably have the best wake up, the best wake up of the four of us, because
Maybe still have memories.
yeah, I'm doing it correctly this time, and that's the thing. I'm like, what if the jolt awake is messing with our minds? You know.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to make this as pleasant of a wake up as possible. Yeah. Play
Yep.
a little early morning music.
So you type in the sequence, and you kind of see that sort of that mist or whatever it is that sort of obscured whoever was in the pod. It goes away, so you can see in, and you can see this man in there, and you hear this click, and you kind of hear the thing kind of power down a little bit, zzz, but it doesn't fully open. Like something is caught, or maybe it got damaged or whatever. And before you have time to do anything, Rob, your character wakes up. Now you don't necessarily jolt out of into consciousness, but you are definitely conscious, and you're kind of staring up. And you can see out of this glass panel, and you're looking at like these lights up above, these sort of fluorescent lights, and the first thing that really, besides that vision, that really hits your senses is this life support critical, immediate action required.
Okay, well, we've got to clearly have to find out what's going on. So I've got to get out of this. Was it like a cryo sleep pod?
Yeah, although you wouldn't necessarily know that's what it is, but yeah, you're in this pod, and it looks like you're surrounded by this glass kind of, container, like Snow White style. You're
Well,
like,
I'm gonna push my way out of it.
yeah, and so you try to push it, and for some reason it seems stuck. Like and I don't know, like how would you react to that? How would your mind sort of start processing? You feel like you're stuck in this glass bug jar.
I would locate the obstruction and remove it.
Okay. So I would say because you are sort of, well, it sounds like you're keeping fairly calm here. So go ahead and make an assessment roll, and go ahead and roll with expertise to see if you can figure out if this is just jammed.
Oh,
You just roll Sneak Eyes.
Yes.
Sweet. All right. So
That's
I'm
a 4.
Yeah, so that's awesome. I'm gonna say that
Oh man.
you can't figure it out, and you start to panic a little bit. Like you're definitely like, oh my God, get me out of here, and you're like banging on the thing, like, ah! And and Sean, you would definitely like you would see this now, right? And you're like, what? You see this guy panicking in here.
Okay, so at first I was thinking, okay, he's fine, and then like the scrabble kind of thing. Okay, there's no way I can do this with my hands. Okay, look around. Is there any loose object in here, or are we talking a completely clean room?
No, this actually is a room. It seems like this might have been some sort of workstation as well. Like you've got these 4 cryo containers in here, but this is a whole area now that you look at it that has personal effects. There's lockers. There seem to be, like chairs. Like this might be where the crew might hang out if this were on a ship or something.
Okay. So again, Oroko dithers a bit, like he's moving back and forth, and then he's like looking at all of the stuff, like just, and you can almost see like he's like, okay, this, like he's starting to make an inventory, and then rushes over and grabs everything that he can. Specifically, he is pulling pieces of metal, useless bits of wire, or it looks like, and he's just ramming them all into onto a tray, like a tray, and then rushes back and starts pulling out things. He's basically letting his natural inclinations towards mechanisms. It's like, I need better tools.
Yeah.
But
and so how quickly? So you're kind of trying to build like a little tool that might be able to pry this open.
Exactly. He's like, okay, I need to. Basically, he's trying to build a screwdriver. And he's like, okay, this thing, try it. Like jimmy it in and stuff like that. It's not quite working, but with each attempt, he's like, at some point he starts, of course, at the same time, he's talking. He's like, don't worry, don't panic. I'm going to get you out of there. Now, when I say push, just push against the glass, lift it just an inch so I can get under it. I'm talking him through it, and he's going to assist me from the inside. Because at some point, like I'm starting to get these like flashbacks of, I've done this so many times before. These things stick all the time. In fact, I start complaining about it. Of like, damn, these are the old Model 32s. These are the old Model 32s. Of course, they're going to stick on open. And at some point, he goes from trying everything to be like, no. At which point, he's like, right, of course, I knew that. And keeps going. Under the hood, I'm basically using my Tinker to create a crude engineering kit out of spare parts. So,
absolutely. Yeah, and you do, and you realize that there's just like the locking mechanism that normally auto-releases got stuck for whatever reason.
As usual.
So yeah, you can exactly. So you can kind of jimmy it, in there. And you feel
so,
it pop.
Do you want me to patch this up?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. And roll. Oh!
Man.
So, before we do that...
Wait.
Oh, go ahead.
My character dies in the pod.
No.
Yeah.
And get involved from rather, help me lift this. Just push all of your weight on the inside. I'm telling you this. Just hand to feet, whatever. Just push as hard as you can.
Well, that would be a lovely.
5. And I would say plus physique. So whatever your physique
that's
is.
a lovely 6.
Oh man.
Oh no! You're gonna die in that pod. I'm so sorry.
Dice stream.
So just
I told you we need to stop using Dice Stream. Dice Stream kills characters.
I'm starting. You know what? I didn't believe you before, but I'm starting to believe you.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is the second time that this
Dice Stream is evil.
Dice Stream really doesn't like Fired by the Apocalypse.
Of course, if you start getting a bunch of good rolls, you can get a bunch of them all in a row, so that can be fun. So because I'm mean, I'm gonna cut scene here for just a minute,
Fair.
and you would see. And I almost imagine we would see through Aaron's character's eyes, almost like in a first-person view. You're just like, are you just sort of calmly walking like down the hallway towards the bridge?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna calmly just stride into the bridge, like I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm gonna go precisely to the life support station. I'll head there.
Yep.
And the first thing I'm gonna do is actually shut off the alarm. Like I don't want to hear that anymore.
Yeah, and so are you doing that like physically, like you're typing something, or how are you doing that?
Yeah, it's going to be, pressing buttons on a screen.
Yep. Okay, so I'm actually going to say in this case, go ahead and make an yeah. What are we going to do? Is it access? I think it is. Go ahead and make an access roll with interface for me.
Hey, that's an 11.
All right. Yeah, so you very easily. So see, some people, he might get a bunch of good rolls now. So yeah, you kind of, and immediately you guys all hear the alarms go off.
Yeah.
But
You're still dying.
Yeah, you see this flashing light on the computer console showing like basically a meter of of the life support system, and you can see it's at like 5%, and then it like blinks a little bit and it counts down to 4%. So if you're going to do something, you gotta reroute power or something, because life support is literally critical.
Oh man. So is that it's just power? It's not like oxygen levels or anything like that.
Well,
I guess my question is: are we
yeah.
venting atmosphere, or are we just sort of losing power?
No, yeah, you're losing power. That coupled with the fact that the lights are on emergency power and there's sparks, kind of going on. Yeah, there's an issue with the power for sure. But you don't get any messages of hull breach or anything like that.
I'm going to try to pull the only thing I know right now that is sucking a lot of power would be the cryo chambers. So without hesitation, I don't care if there's a person still left in stasis, although you're not, that's fine. I'm gonna just dump all the power from the cryopods into life support.
Okay, yeah, and so you do that. You kind of reroute the power from the cryopods, and you can see that it kind of and then you see that the sort of the readout on the computer for life support stabilizes for a minute, and it stops, and then it goes from 4 to 5 to 6, and it jumps to 10, and so it's starting to go up, and it's going up slowly, but it's definitely drawing a lot of power. And you also realize at this point that a lot of the other systems on the ship, and you know now that you're on a ship, and you're kind of looking over these diagnostics, and you realize FTL is down, your sublight engines are down, you see readouts for shields and weapons, they're all powered down, and you also see this blinking light indicating that you have some sort of message. But before that happens, you hear this, like, these footsteps behind you, and you hear, what? Something, and Justin, your character enters the room.
I think this is the point where my programming would sort of drop. I would return to myself, like I'm safe now.
Yeah.
So now I'm back to being scared to death. Who the hell are you?
Who are you?
I'm gonna put like chairs and things between us. Who the hell am I?
I don't know, and I don't know who I am either. And like, I'm trying to keep my distance because it's clear to me that this girl is scared, and I know that somehow I have to watch out for her. So I am keeping my distance, but I'm just kind of looking around the room, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And like, I'm just trying to get a good draw of the situation here. Like, I'm looking over the console, and I'm trying to figure out what's our biggest danger here. I want to do a deduction, use my deduction skill here. I'm trying to figure out what's the thing that's going on the ship that's the most dangerous to us. We've gotten the life support situation taken care of, it seems like, but I'm concerned about any other issues or anything else we should be paying attention to, because I have no idea what's going on here. So I'm looking for any context or anything, any logs that I can pull up or anything like that.
Yeah, so definitely you can do that. Now, a couple of immediate things that you realize. You realize that the most immediate danger that you guys were under was the life support. But for some reason, this scared little girl has seemed to have dealt with that issue. And do you realize at this point, like, are you recognizing that you're on a starship? Are you, like, what's sort of coming back to you? I mean, you're looking at this computer panel. Is it starting to make sense to you? Like, what are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling like, like I know something about these computers. I feel like maybe I actually was really good with using these things, so like I should be able to somehow maybe not black out, but just kind of let my instincts come through, and I should be able to figure out something. Like, for example, I'm noticing there's a message here, and I should understand how to access this message and see what it is. Maybe it's a warning. Maybe it's someone trying to tell us something. Maybe we don't know, but I just know that I need to find out what's going on here. And I'm trying to do this as discreetly as possible because I understand that this girl is scared, and I don't want to freak her out any more than she already is.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you kind of realize, and this is all like touchscreen, so you can like touch the screen to kind of pull up the message, and that happens, and you see this face. But before we resolve that, I'm going to cut back to the cryo chamber, because at this point, all the lights have kind of gone out, except for the emergency lighting in the room. All of a sudden, it's like, and the cryo chamber is still stuck. Like it's still the physical locking mechanism is stuck.
That's
but
exactly
you
what I
can't,
feel.
Yeah, you can't, because it's not an electrical thing, it's a mechanical thing, and you're still in this chamber. But it's not. There's no longer the klaxons going off saying life support imminent. That's all done. So
I look up, and in the silence, because it's like, ringing silence after the loudness, I just say, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Hopefully it's a good thing. But I turn back to the pod, and of course, it's like the hydraulics are off. Everything is off now. Like, even if it was straining to open before, it's not anymore. It's locked back down. But there's no power, and I hope there's enough oxygen left in there.
Yeah, and you sort of get the impression that either the fact that the life support warning isn't going off means that the ship's internal life support is going to be okay, or you guys are very quickly going to die.
That's why I said I hope it's a good thing.
I'll let you decide how that works, but you also feel like at this point, maybe just brute force trying to yank the thing up might be the best way to get him out of here.
Oh,
or have him do it, I don't know.
Pull out that dad string.
Yeah.
All right. So I know that he can't hear me anymore because of the fact that the whole thing is like locked down now. It's sealed again.
No, actually, so it's not sealed. It's
Oh.
It's in the exact same condition it was before. It's just literally there's like some piece of metal or whatever that's caught that is preventing the capsule from completely opening.
Okay.
And you tried to jimmy it, but for whatever reason it didn't work.
Same time.
Okay, so I just say,
Coordinate.
wait for me. Just wait 2 seconds. Just stay calm. I head back over and find myself
Where are you going?
a large piece of metal, and like you just see my character leave, and then just come back with this massive crowbar.
Nice.
Just like ram it in there, and at this point, as he rams the crowbar between the two and starts pulling, like he can see his own arms, and it's like, must have worked out when I was, because despite his age and despite the lack of speed that he has, dude is pretty massive actually, and just starts pulling, and you just see like, veins are pulling out, and that motion feels just really natural, and there's like, if he was into a little bit more introspection, he'd wonder at the brief rush of endorphins that he was getting from ripping machinery apart. It's like, why is this so much fun?
Nice. Yeah, and so mechanically then I would say you're probably doing a patch up at this point, right? Because you're trying to use like a tool or whatever to like Jimmy this thing, or are you just trying to like sort of brute force it?
Yeah, I'm brute forcing it at this point.
Oh, all right.
I already tried Jimmying it, and I
Sure.
completely screwed that up.
All right, so then face adversity with physique, and Rob, you go ahead and do get involved with physique.
Will do.
Right. So 1, 2, 3, push.
Ooh, 7.
Right.
Okay.
I got a 9, so with your 7, that actually bumps it up to a full success.
Oh yeah. So you kind of just like and like push right through and just break the locking mechanism, narrowly managing to prevent the glass from shattering. And you kind of and from the inside you're like, ugh! And you push the thing up. And Sean, I would imagine you almost have to like get out of the way as the thing and and so Rob, your character would like pop up, I imagine. I'm like, oh my god. So what do you guys do?
I immediately, after letting the case fall, I assume that he's... what is your character wearing?
I'm wearing a EVA suit liner.
Okay, so I just, grab by the collar thing. Please tell me that you know who I am.
I have no idea who you are.
Damn it!
And you realize now that you have no idea who you are either.
Fascinatingly, I also have no idea who I am.
Expected. Still.
I'm also about 6'7", by the way.
What's
Okay,
that?
so...
Oh, you're 6'7", you said?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Very, very thin.
So let him get out of the pod, of course, and then do the up and down like, oh, you're taller than you look to the pod.
Awesome. Yeah, and so Rob, as this kind of happens, and you realize, it seems like you're just taking this in stride, like, oh, I don't know who I am. It's kind of fascinating and weird, but what's up? So do you you kind of look around the room, and is this all sort of foreign to you, or is anything starting to kind of come back to you? Like what?
Clearly, this is some kind of ship or habitat. I seem to know that.
Yeah.
We're clearly in space. We're not on the ground.
Yeah, that would make sense. Definitely, your scientific mind is starting to put it together, right? Okay, these must have been some kind of cryopod. We were in there. Maybe there was some sort of malfunction, and that's why I don't have any memories.
Well, we should go to the bridge and access the ship's log. That may tell us who we are. And I also want to know where we are.
Yeah, so just say the other 2 people who were in the pods, some guy and a little girl, they already went that way, and I guess they must have figured out how to turn the klaxons off and turn off the rest of the power. I really hope they're okay. So,
well, let's go check on them.
All right. As we go down the hallway, I kind of come to a stop and let him bump up into my back and look down the other hallway that I was attracted down, and just do you know what's down there?
I look down there. Is there a door?
Yeah, you don't necessarily know what's down there, but it's another corridor. But Sean, you're starting to have these sort of partial memories. You used to walk down this hallway all the time. This is where you would go.
Mm-hmm.
This is somehow related to you, and you feel very comfortable, sort of a comfortable feeling there.
Yeah. I'm getting the feeling that my character tends to trust his muscles a lot, muscle memory a lot, both engineering expertise wise and physique wise. Mm-hmm. His two prime stats, of course. And I'm this is a very familiar area. I think I used to live here, work here. That hallway, I know every bit of it. I've walked up and down that hallway enough that I've probably left a groove there. I'm gonna go check it out. You go to the thing, the whatchamacallit. the bridge.
Right, that thing with the thing.
Yeah, the place with the thing.
The place where all the complicated computer stuff is.
Where we drive the ship.
The place where I don't have the clearance to go.
Nice. Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, so Sean, you would start heading down that hallway.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Rob, I take it you'd be heading to the bridge?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to cut to the bridge for just a minute. Justin, you're looking at this message and you've just kind of clicked on this message to open it up. And just as that happens, you hear some sort of footsteps behind you. Somebody kind of enters the room, and I almost imagine that, like, maybe the girl is kind of interested or edging a little bit closer, but this face shows up on the screen, and this is a recorded message, right? And for some reason you recognize this face, and you have a very visceral reaction, like you do not like this person. You can't remember quite who it is, but man, you don't like them. And you see this, he's a younger man, well built, well dressed, has this just cocky, shit-eating, look on his face. Like, this is somebody that, man, you would just love to put a bullet right in his head. And he looks at you. Well, he's obviously broadcasting a message, right? And he says, "Man, you guys better have a damn good explanation for why you didn't reach your destination. I put my neck out on the line to get you this job. Like, I can't even believe this. Somebody better get back to me as soon as possible. You don't fuck with Carter Jackson." And then there's more to the message, but it starts to short out a little bit, because you realize that the computer system is kind of shorting. But does that name, Carter Jackson, spark any memories or anything for you?
Yeah, like somehow, at first I wasn't sure why we were on the ship. Like, I didn't know if we were prisoners or experiments. But like, I now kind of think that maybe, we're not the cargo. Maybe something else is, and I'm starting to remember that, I'm here, and I was supposed to. Maybe I had more than one job here, and I think it has something to do with the girl. But I'm almost starting to think that maybe there's like somewhere we're supposed to go, and something we were supposed to drop off, and I want to kind of look through the logs, but I'm really, 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 at the same time, I'm super, super concerned about the footsteps that I heard. So I kind of grab the girl and put her behind me, and I turn around towards the door, and I'm kind of in a defensive stance. I'm taking a martial arts stance, and I'm waiting to see who's coming to this door because I'm ready to rush them.
Yeah, and so as that happens, Aaron, this guy just basically grabs you, right, and is starting to move you. So how do you react to that?
Well, I mean, we've been, ducking and dodging for a little bit now, and they're, I'm weirded out. I'm not threatened anymore.
Okay.
So I'm not going to react poorly, but I mean, I definitely I push his hands away. I'll let him sort of move me behind him, but then I'm just, get off me, and I'll still stay.
And you would have heard the voice on that message. Does that do anything for you? Does that spark any memories or anything like that?
No memories specifically, but the name made me want to growl. Like it was like a. I don't know why. I did not like the name.
Yeah,
it made me a little bit angry.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, and so you're kind of positioned behind this guy, and you guys see this rather large, thin, maybe academic type guy walking in with, the sort of the inner part of an EVA suit. And you guys recognize that that's what it is. And Rob, you enter the bridge just as you hear this, this message sort of click off, and you realize that the power is fluctuating in here. It's almost basically on emergency power. It's some of the basic functions of the command console are functioning, but there's very little power in the ship. So what do you do? And you see this guy kind of standing there with the girl behind him,
You need to go to engineering.
Excuse me?
Go to engineering, please, and see what's happening down there with the engines. Because I'm not getting a readout on this console.
Who are you?
I have no idea who I am. I'm going to check the logs and find that out. And then I have to figure out where we are.
And like, I'm kind of hesitant to do it. Like, I don't have anything against this guy. Like, maybe we got along, and I don't know. But like, I'm very hesitant to let him see the logs before I see the logs. Like, I somehow know that there's probably something down in engineering I can do. But one, I want to make sure the girl's okay. And two, I kind of want to check the logs before I let anyone else look at them. Because for some reason, I seem to think, I don't know, like, is there something here that maybe I should know and that not everyone else needs to know right away?
Sure.
So I kind of look at it and I'm kind of like, I'd be happy to check out engineering, but I can't do it right now. I've got something that's got to go on here. Because what you have to, and I'm realizing this, like, when the lights are flickering on and off and on and off, somehow I instinctively know that the light level is changing, but I can see just as well when it's dark as it is when it's light. And I don't understand this, but it just, I realize that somehow this is normal for me, so I'm not, like, really weirded out by it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, would you feel like, do you get the impression that you would make any damn bit of difference if you went down to engineering, or no?
No, because, like, I feel like somehow that's not a priority. The life support has been restored, and I'm more concerned for some reason with getting to the bottom of who we are and why we're here and how I know Carter Jackson than I am with, like, the ship going anywhere. Like, something tells me that the ship getting where it's going might be important, but it might not, and maybe delaying the ship getting where it's going is actually a good thing, but I'm not really sure. I can't remember.
Yeah. And so, Rob, you see him hesitate when you say that. You know, and he says that, right? And he's not going to engineering, at least not right this minute.
Fine. I'm going to engineering. Don't touch anything and blow us up.
And I'm kind of like put off by that, but I don't. I don't have like a response. Like, my face is still just very bland. Like, other than even when I was freaked out earlier, I just had this kind of very bland look on my face. So like, I'm not having this visceral reaction, and I'm kind of not concerned with what's going on there. But I'm more concerned with actually accessing the logs here and trying to figure out any information I can.
Yeah, definitely. So you can certainly access the logs, and we'll do that in just a moment. Rob, would you know where engineering is?
Well, I mean, there's a standard layout. It's going to be aft, right? Because you put the power core as far away from the bridge as possible.
Right.
I'll just head back the other way.
Yeah, and so you would kind of ascertain that where you guys were. I mean, you were aft to start, and you've kind of came up towards the front of the ship. So you would start heading back, and you could surmise that probably that room that your other companion or this strange man that helped you out of the pod went is probably a good location for engineering.
Yeah, I'll go there.
Okay, and so we'll head there in just a minute. But Aaron, what is your character doing or feeling, or how is she reacting at this point?
I'm kind of taking it all in. And while these two were going at it, I was just sort of like taking stock of myself. And so after Slim heads out of the room, I turn to my remaining fellow and say, "Hey, look at this!" And inside my jacket, it actually has my name or a name, and it says Mara. Hey, look at this! And I'm sort of checking through my pockets and looking through different things, and I have a few like credit chips, and nothing really interesting, but I do have my name written on the inside of my my jacket.
Yeah. Or somebody's name anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. Could be
And-
the designer, but I'm gonna go by Mara.
Like, man, Mara Perry, these clothes are great.
Calvin Klein.
Yeah. And you also, it's at this point too that you feel something, some sort of, it's hard to describe or ascertain, but your mind feels like it can connect to something in this room, to systems or something. You feel this mental connection, and you can't quite figure out what that is.
I sort of reach out for it.
Okay. And you instinctively know what to do. You realize that you can access the ship's systems remotely. If you want to actually get in and get any information, you'll have to make an access roll with interface. But yeah, you can tell that this is something that you can do.
Yeah. Why don't I go ahead? Let's find out what's going on here.
All right. Yeah. So access with interface.
Oh. I got a +2.
Okay. 7. All right.
Good enough.
Yeah. So you get in, and you're within the ship system. Are you looking for something in particular, or just kind of general access?
I'm looking for two things. First off, what just happened? Like, I mean, why?
Yep.
Why is life support spazzing out? Why? Was there like damage to the ship? Did we crash?
Yeah.
And then the other question is like, where are we?
Yeah.
Because we should probably begin moving at some point. So
Yeah.
knowing where we are is the first step to, knowing where to go.
Yeah. So the first thing you do is kind of access the ship's logs. Maybe you access the navigation system, and you realize that there was a major sort of spatial event that caused not exactly an electromagnetic pulse, but some sort of event that caused major system strain to your ship, knocking out the hyperdrive and most of the main, not the hyperdrive, sorry, you guys don't have a hyperdrive, but the drive systems and access, and really just messing with the electronics. There doesn't seem to be any hull damage, but you can't tell exactly what it was because the computer wasn't able to ascertain that. But you realize that you are, the coordinates that it's saying you're at right now, you are not too far away from Jupiter. Particularly one of the moons of Jupiter. And it seems like that might have been your destination, but it also lets you know that you were coming from Neptune. And for some reason, Neptune, that triggers something in your mind. You remember something, like a research station or something that exists out there, and these two words stick in your head: inclusive industries. You're not really sure exactly what that is, but you know that this has something to do with research or experimentation or something.
And as I come across things, I'm saying random words out loud, like Neptune. Inclusive industries.
Yeah. Oh, Jupiter. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
Jupiter. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, and you realize that you've accessed the system, but this has caused.
Justin, you're muted.
Oh yeah, Justin, you are muted.
I was saying this is kind of freaking me out, but at the same time, it seems weird at first, but then I realized like somehow this is normal. I've seen this before, so it's not something I should be super concerned about.
Yeah, and Mara, as you are sort of processing all of this, you kind of in the back of your mind feel this ping, and you realize the computer is saying, the scanners have picked up something at long range, at like extreme range. Something has entered space, and it's giving off a transponder signal, and it seems to be coming your way. But we're going to cut
our way.
Yeah, but we're going to cut to engineering. And so, Sean, you kind of make your way up to this door, and it's just feeling very familiar. And you realize that this door has a different kind of access panel. This one doesn't have your normal keypad like you experienced before. This one seems to have like a scanner, and you just instinctively know to put your hand like on this scanner, and you do, and it says, it sort of blinks from red to blue, and it says, "Welcome, Okara," or was it Okoro? It says,
You're muted.
"Welcome."
I am muted. Sorry. Oroko.
Oroko. Okay. Welcome, Oroko. And it kind of opens the door, and you walk in, and you realize that this is the engineering bay. But like the first thing that stands out to you, apart from the drive systems and all that, you see these three sort of machines, right? And they're similar, but they're all sort of distinctly different. So if you want, go ahead and kind of describe what these look like and what you're feeling and all that in this room.
All right. If I may just take a little bit of creative.
Absolutely.
So they're machines, but they're covered over in heavy cloth, weighted down, and they're secured to basically they're in three alcoves. So I'm just running my hand over one, and I grab the tarp and pull it off, and beneath it is a very weathered but much maintained and much loved machine that is, it's like this kind of khaki brown green, and from the looks of it, it is very, very ruggedly built. Like, this is like high-grade materials, but absolutely no aesthetic qualities to it. This is obviously something that's made to get dinged and scratched and roll around in the dirt, and it has. It's been cleaned, but you can tell that it's something that is very, very heavily used. From the looks of it, it's got a massive sensor array, but all of it is protected in like these roll cages and that kind of thing. The second one is a fully sealed, and looks like the newest unit. Fully sealed, very nice and slick and shiny, and it's got one arm. It's another mech suit. It's got one arm that is covered in engineering equipment, like small drills and pincers and that kind of stuff. The other arm is a massive double saw at 45-degree angles from each other, which can rip through, and you can see that there's like a control that, like machinery that will allow it to either cut straight or dig. And this is kind of like two huge metal saws, and of course, like each of the saw blades is around the size of a human chest. So I'm like just running my fingers very delicately over the edging, and I'm like, I'm impressed, but it's more than impressed. There's a sense of pride in it. Like, I'm like, yeah. The third one is the one that looks the most dangerous. It is simple, sleek, and as I pull the tarp off it, the tarp catches on its arm. One arm is just a normal lifter. The other arm, as I pull off, there's a jangle of massive rounds, each the size of like a can of cola. A massive chain gun on the other one. This thing is a war mech. And I look at each of them and I'm like, I know what it looks like to be inside without ever having gone in. And I'm like, I'm looking at these and I know that they belong to me. Like, it's like these are mine, Like, I have poured so much into them that I know that they're mine. But I'm feeling like I don't remember how to pilot them. Like, maybe if I just got in and, let my training and experience take over. But right now I'm like, it's been too long, and I feel like I would need training wheels again. I'm like, I'm gonna I'm
Yeah.
gonna let these be for now.
Yeah. That's awesome. And you this is a really large room, surprisingly, because you kind of actually get the impression that in many ships, the engineering bay, the largest part of it is where the engines are. But you actually, this one is kind of got this bigger extra area, and there are tool benches and kits and all kinds of stuff, and winches and pulleys, like you might be able to lift these mechs up and like work on them and tinker them. But you realize too that it seems like that the engine systems are down, but there doesn't seem to be any internal damage. From here, and there is a computer console, you might be able to run a diagnostic or try to figure out what's going on, but you realize that internally the ship seems okay.
And this is immediately where I'm like, this is where I need a junior assistant to do all the computer work for me.
Yeah.
Diagnostics was the pit crew job, not mine.
And
I deal with the physical stuff.
As you think that, lo and behold, you actually have someone who's quite smart enter the engineering bay. And Rob, your character would see this scene, right? And you'd see these three mechs in this sort of larger engineering bay, and you would also ascertain that there's no internal structural damage that you can see. So what do you do?
Well, we have power fluctuation. I want to make sure the ship is fully functional. So, okay, let's see if we can find out what's causing that.
Right. No damage, but if there's something miscalibrated, you tell me where it is and I can fix it, I say. And I walk over and find the tool belt, which has my name embroidered on it, strap it on, buckle it, and just say, tell me where to fix things and I'll fix them.
Yeah, and I imagine it would have like a little like name embroidery. Like it says Iroko Star or property of Iroko Star or whatever, right on, or Star. Yeah. Nice.
And the belt buckle actually was a gift from grandson, and I know this. Like I get this brief flashback of like little grandson handing me the thing, and it's my three mechs embossed in metal, like facing outwards in like little Japanese anime poses. And I've had that one I carry from tool belt to tool belt. Like the tool belts wear away after a while, but that belt buckle has been it's gaudy, it's tacky, love it.
Yeah, and you would also see on it it like a symbol of this faction, and you recognize this as it says ZMI on it, and you recognize that as Zelgrad Mining Initiative.
Right.
So you may have been a miner at one point, or maybe that's what your function is, or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Rob, so you would recognize that there's a computer system here.
Okay.
That would be internal, tied into the engineering system. If you want to try to.
Yes, I will.
All right, so go ahead and make an access roll with interface. And I imagine that Iroko might have already sort of like entered the access code to let you in, because this is sort of his area.
Oh yeah. When it says access denied, I'm like, oh, shut up, computer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So would that be an assessment then?
No, because you're trying to access the system. So yeah, access plus interface.
That would be a 7.
Okay. So you manage to log in and run a diagnostics check, and you realize that what's going on is that there's a major sort of like it's like a power coupling or something on the outside of the ship that got fried, like it got damaged. But this is a fairly common part, so it would be very very likely that you have another replacement part somewhere in here. But to replace it, somebody would have to go out onto the outside of the ship, remove the old one, and put in the new one. And you realize too that your sensors, you can tell what happened. There was a major sort of disturbance, and you realize that it was this major flux of like radiation that just blasted the ship. And you kind of, from your knowledge, and you don't necessarily know how you know this, but this seems very much like an astronomical event. You almost would imagine that maybe you guys flew too close to a nebula or something and just got blasted with this like just super concentrated, blast of radiation. So that would explain what happened to your ship.
Hmm. It doesn't explain why there are only 4 of us.
True.
Well, someone's got to go out and replace that coupling, and somehow I feel like it's going to be me.
I actually disagree, I say, and walk him over to my fully sealed repaired bot. This baby is going to take me out there.
Well, better fine with me.
I need you to talk me through it, though. So tell me if anything goes wrong. I climb in, open the hatch, and drop into the mech. Start flicking on lights and stuff like that. Turn on things I shouldn't, turn them back off. I'm like, no, okay. Now just get familiar with it again,
Yeah.
And
The radio comes on.
yeah, it's like the windshield went.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like get everything sealed, go through the full, checklist. This takes probably I'd say probably a good half hour of making sure that everything goes smoothly, because I'm starting to realize that if I take this thing out and I've done something wrong, I'm going to get sucked out of a pinhole, if the seal isn't complete or that kind of thing. So I'm going through diagnostic check 1.
Yeah.
Are you okay? Diagnostic check 2. I'm at least 10, 15 minutes, if not half an hour worth of stuff. So.
This is getting boring to me. So, is there any way I can remotely access astrogation from this station?
Yeah, absolutely. And you would realize in this setting, you have very limited sort of jump capabilities. Basically the way the ships work is you guys are basically contained to Earth's solar system. So you can do very limited jumps, and it sounds like you guys were trying to do a jump from about the most extreme range you could from right outside Neptune to Jupiter. And you made it most of the way, but for some reason you got, so you can definitely kind of do this check. You realize, though, that there's no way that you'll be able to power up the engines or even the jump drive without replacing this first.
All right.
Yeah, but were you looking for anything more specific regarding that?
Just see where we are in space and...
Yeah, and in fact, you have limited scanner range here. You know that the bridge would probably have the big scanners, but based on the astronavigation charts, you realize you're actually very very close to Ganymede, one of the moons of Jupiter.
Okay.
Yeah, and so as you guys are kind of getting ready, Sean, one real quick question: does your mech have magnetic boots or something that would kind of keep it on the hull, or would there be some kind of winch system that you would kind of connect yourself to the hull so you don't float off into space?
I'm sorry, I've just received a PM. Give me 2 seconds.
Yep.
I apologize.
No problem.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, so we'll cut back to the bridge for a minute. So
I got a question.
yeah.
The information that Mara just got, is that just all going on inside of her head? So I don't know that. I know that she's accessing it, but I don't know what it is myself, or am I seeing this?
Well, you wouldn't even necessarily know that she's accessing anything, but she's saying certain things, right? She's saying, Jupiter, Neptune, but so
I don't know, but somehow I kind of have an understanding of that's what's going on. I don't know who she is. I don't know who I am, but things are happening that seem familiar to me. So I have some idea this is what's going on, but maybe I can't actually see what she's seeing because it's going on inside of her head. But that's not a big deal because I think I kind of think that she has things under control here, maybe?
Yeah, well, and you would also notice, kind of with her, but you were also sort of looking at the computer. You guys both would notice kind of at the same time that this, the scanners start pinging at you. Ping, ping, ping. And you realize that the extreme range of your scanner, this sort of signature, it's a ship transponder signal has come into your range, and your ship is basically letting you know that something is out there.
Ooh.
Da-da,
Sorry.
da-da.
Yeah,
Apologies.
I think I'm still a little distracted, like going through the like I don't notice the actual screen. I'm like,
Yeah.
incoming. Ganymede.
And I'm concerned about all of this, but I'm also remembering what Carter said in our job, and I'm thinking about the cargo bay. And I'm thinking that I used to spend a lot of time there, and I don't know why, but for some reason, when I tended to be in the cargo bay, I tried to be there by myself as much as possible. So at some time very soon, I'm going to want to get to the cargo bay, but I also kind of want to know what's going on with the signal that's coming in. So I want to, talk to Mara, and I want to find out if she knows something about this that I don't. Like, I'm just seeing things on a screen, but I somehow know that she's got some. She's talking to the ship, and I want to know what she knows.
I wanna take a quick moment, like just sort of real quickly. I already have access to the ship, so I want to try to hit the ship's communication systems, like as I'm doing this, and just say like one word, just incoming across the
Like
ship's
the internal
communication.
comms. Yeah.
Yeah, just like broadcast it, incoming, and then that's it, and then I'll go back to
Oh my
processing
God.
and scanning and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you guys hear that over the ship's internal communication. All you hear is, the little girl's voice say, "Incoming."
Lovely.
I
What
brace
is
for
incoming?
impact.
Yeah, different mech.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Give
go.
me a bigger mech.
Yeah, sorry, by the way, briefly called away.
Yeah, no
Um,
problem.
So what was the question
So,
before? I missed
yeah,
it.
so the question was, with your mech, do you have some sort of like grav boots or something that would, magnetically attach it to the hull so you could move, or would you have like some kind of tether so you don't basically just float away into space?
Oh yeah, the EVA mech has very small thrusters that allow for movement, and normal security procedure means that I'm going to be tethering myself
Okay.
repeatedly. I mean, technically I could not, but that's just a recipe to go floating into space.
Sure. Okay. Yep.
So yeah.
So no problem. So yeah, you would realize that well, I imagine too, you guys would probably you'd grab the power couple,
Yeah.
coupling or whatever internal, put it in the mech or wherever he stores it, and you would realize that to get to the access panel, to get outside of the ship, you would basically have to go outside of the cargo bay. The loading ramp and whatever. And so, it's fairly standard on a ship, right? You would have the actual like airlock area and then the cargo bay so that you could obviously seal it off from vacuum. So yeah, you could start making your way there. Now, Justin, you realize, yeah, you kind of want to go to the cargo bay and you kind of want to figure out what this ship is. You also realize, though, that there's probably files in the system that you could access that might give you, because it seems like you're very curious about this guy Carter and what you guys are doing here. You may very well have some sort of ship's log or some sort of data or whatever that you might be able to access.
Right, and I want to do that, so should I go ahead and make an interface roll here?
No, I'm going to say you're already in the system. This isn't something that is necessarily hidden. In fact, you can pull up the crew personnel records, and you could also pull up the ship's log.
So I think I'm the number one thing I think I'm curious about is knowing who everyone is. So I'm going to look at the personnel manifest first.
Okay. And what I'm going to let you guys do, each individually, I'm going to let you guys now fully describe who your character is, but what I want you guys to do is add some sort of shady or criminal element into it, because you've been hired on by Carter Jackson. He's sort of a middleman for some sort of shady or nefarious reason. So don't say what the mission was, but just how you are kind of involved in something not so pleasant.
Not a good person.
Yeah. And so why don't we, Justin, since you accessed it, why don't we start with you?
So, my name is. Hold up, I'm getting the stream here. It's Ephraim Chow.
You have to,
And
if you change the lower third, you have to check and uncheck the box on Dice Stream.
all right, cool. And I'm gonna create. There we
no,
go.
yeah, there you go.
So, my name is Ephraim Chow, and I was actually, according to this, I was born on Mars. I am 32 years old, and I haven't been a crew member on the ship very long. This is actually my first run, and there's not a lot of information on me as far as like long history, but I'm here, and it doesn't give me any particular position except for special consultant. And that's really all the information there, so I'm really confused. Like, what does a special consultant do? Was I an engineer, an engineering consultant, or was I a consultant for cargo, or somebody who worked directly for Carter Jackson? So I feel like this has answered, this has created more questions than it's answered.
Yeah, and I would add one thing to it. You actually realize that there is and so that you realize that there's a government entity called the Galactic Authority, and the Galactic Authority has basically there's like an addendum to your personnel record, and it is a criminal record. Like there was a warrant out for your arrest, and you realize that you had spent some time in prison. But not a lot, not a very long time at all. In fact, you were released, and it doesn't necessarily say why. It says classified.
I forgot about that. My bad. Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, now so does that trigger any kind of memories or anything for you, or are you still kind of left in the dark there?
I'm thinking that, like, I have a very, very bland, generic look. I'm a brown-skinned guy. I have wavy hair. I look just like pretty much any average generic male you would see on a ship crew or a colony or something like that. So I'm thinking that probably what happened here was there was a theft that took place, and I was arrested for it, and I was convicted, and I went to prison, but it was later figured out the reinvestigation was done, and it turned out it wasn't me. And the reason why I was arrested and convicted was because there's like literally millions of other people out there in the solar system who look pretty much like I do.
Nice. Yeah, and you realize too that in this file below that there's like another tab, and it says medical history and record, and within there it lists a series of cybernetic modifications. You can detail those if you want or not, but this starts to reveal these things about you, and this would give you this flashback scene of actually this, like, being in this sort of medical facility, and these government types like doing stuff to your body, but you also kind of get the impression that this was voluntary, that you were sort of, if not welcoming of this, that you maybe like you recognized what was going on, and this was sort of part of the deal. You don't know what that deal was yet, but it doesn't seem all that off-putting, so to speak.
No, in fact, I think I'm going to say that, like, in a sense, I was actually really felt a sense of pride and accomplishment about what was going to happen. Like, somehow I had done something that someone somewhere saw as being very, very good and very positive for them, and that this was sort of a reward. I'd done some hard work, and this was my payoff.
Okay, excellent. And you see this like sort of encrypted note down at the bottom, and you can't quite access it, but it's saying, modifications provided by, and then it says redacted. So there's something going on here. Now, Mara, you also, as he's pulled up the personnel record, your mind kind of figured out that this was happening, and so like maybe you access it just almost subconsciously, and you're seeing this, and so this kind of gives you your full personnel record as well. So if you want to go ahead and sort of describe a little bit more about you and how you react to finding this information out.
The most obvious thing about the personnel record, it's different when I access it because I'm not visually seeing it, but when you pull it up on a screen, it has a big red sort of watermark thing on it.
Yep.
That says property of inclusive industries, internal use only, do not distribute. And it's repeated on every page, just over and over and over.
Mm-hmm.
The record clearly indicates that what is property of inclusive industries is not the document, it's actually me. I am, it says experiment number XJ945. Experiment, it's got like sort of like a log, like, you know, there's dates and things like that, and at some point it says experiment has shown hostile tendencies to be incinerated. It's dated later. It's dated clearly, you know, months ago.
Yep. Okay, great. And so, oh man, nice. So Ephraim, you would have seen this as well. You would have been scanning to the next record, and you would have seen that as well. So you realize, like, you know, Mara's picture comes up, and like clearly this mega corporation deems her as extremely dangerous and is scheduled for termination. So you're not quite sure what's going on there. But before we get into the other two personnel records, a couple of things happen. One, you realize, both of you guys realize, that this sensor, you know, the ship or whatever that was coming in on this sensor, it is starting to come in. Now it's gone from extreme range to long range, and you know that based on the size, you know, signature of this ship, once it gets into about medium range, that would be within range of communication. And so you expect that this thing is definitely coming. You don't know if this is hostile or not. The signature is not giving off a galactic authority transponder signal, but it is definitely giving off a larger, you know, maybe like a frigate or corvette size signal. So this is a big ship coming at you. And your ship, even the guns don't work right now, but even if they did, they're really more just like point defense guns. So they're like to shoot, you know, asteroids out of the way. They would not be of any use to fight off a large ship like this. So that's kind of weighing on your mind. But you guys kind of cut back to the cargo hold, and Oroko, you would have kind of, you know, piloting the mech, you know, out there, and I would imagine that that, you know, Carl would be seeing this, you know, kind of maybe watching on an internal cam, because I don't imagine you would necessarily have wanted to go there, but you can like access the systems and open the doors and whatever, and you would be patched into his communication, internal communications array or whatever. And so how do you guys kind of coordinate this? And Oroko, you would know that it's a fairly routine sort of jump over to the, you know, to get to the spot where you have to access the power coupling, but definitely you're a little bit concerned. You don't know how much radiation output might be there. You don't know if there's any kind of anomalies that are currently out there that could cause trouble. So what are you guys going to do at this point?
Well, Oroko's gonna. He's still a little confused as to like I guess the breadth of his expertise.
Yep.
Like he's feeling more confident, but he's still like. So he's basically kind of falling back to very practiced, ground in procedure. Like
Yep.
he's taking almost comfort in literally talking through everything that he's doing, of like, you know, attaching safety cable 1, attaching safety cable 2,
Yep.
opening cargo bay. Like he's doing it more for himself as a kind of like, this is what I'm doing now. I gotta keep remembering this is what I'm doing now.
Yep.
So yeah, once the cargo bay doors are on, like open,
Mhm.
he's going to do very, very short burst out, and then pull around and, reorient myself so I'm not on ship gravity, but like using the outer hull as my floor. So that, takes a moment to get used to that. I'm assuming that my friend there, who's handling all of the computer stuff, is going to be depressurizing, repressurizing.
Yeah, definitely. And in fact, Carl, go ahead and tell me, are there any major anomalies or any kind of dangers that you guys might need to be aware of that could complicate the matter here, or does everything look okay?
So we're Ganymede. So we're near Jupiter. Well,
Mhm.
there are probably some very intense radiation fields here coming
Okay.
off of Jupiter, and I hope his mech is shielded sufficiently.
Yeah, and I would say it's probably shielded from atmosphere, but maybe what that means is that he would communicate this to you, and you would realize you're going to have to do this a little bit more quickly than you otherwise might feel comfortable with
Right.
to avoid some kind of major radiation issue.
Okay, yeah, so I'm probably getting like little
Yeah,
internal
unfortunately,
sensors.
you're not clad in about 3 meters of ice all around.
Mm.
I also like radiation issue. That was a nice little phrase.
Radiation issue.
Like radiation.
We have a radiation faux pas.
Yeah.
We have a radiation leak in Sector 7, big leak, very dangerous.
We're okay here, though. How are you? Yeah. Nice. Okay,
right.
yeah, so he communicates this to you, and I kind of imagine that you were maybe feeling 100% confident, but what is that kind of doing to your psyche now?
So basically I'm like looking and I'm like, oh yeah, I can see the radiation, like the gauges and stuff like that are telling me that I've got like limited time, and I'm like, well, I've had all the grandkids that I need, so that's fortunate, I guess. And basically, if you're seeing this from the outside, you kind of get the I'm bunny hopping basically at this point. I'm kick off and then kick down. So I'm taking these big kind of ostrich steps. My mech is basically just ostrich stepping along the side of the ship, moving as quickly as I can, of course. And when I see the conduit, the busted conduit, like my mech is holding the conduit in one hand, one claw thing. Kick off the side of the ship, and then reorient and start, putting myself so that I can. Sorry, I'm trying to get my hands into view. Instead of walking along like this, I'm then facing the ship to kind of come into that side.
Yeah, definitely. And you see that, but you also realize that apart from the radiation, this is not as easy as you realize. What is kind of going on the ship that makes this, what you're trying to do, just that much more dangerous?
Yeah, so I am no good with zero-G already. Like this guy is used to being very methodical and slow in zero-G because he is already clumsy about it.
Okay.
But we are in a major gravity field. The gravity that I was expecting, the microgravity that I was expecting and that I was planning for, as I do the hop, I'm already feeling as if I was falling down the edge of the ship, as if we had some sort of tube, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, basically gravity isn't behaving like it should right now.
Right.
Right now, this thing should be the only thing affecting my mech. Like, the ship should be the only thing affecting my mech and the only thing that I should need to compensate for. But right now, it feels like there's something else. Some other gravity well or fluctuation or a... Normally, this is the kind of thing that a large, massive source would cause. Like if we were close to a planet, this is not the kind of thing that I would do because I'd be afraid of falling into the atmosphere.
Okay.
And I get that feeling, even though, as far as I understand, we're not near enough to a planet, are we?
No, not quite. You're far enough out that kind of gravity well wouldn't be affecting you. But so something definitely strange is going on. And in fact, because of that, go ahead and make a face adversity roll with your physique to kind of try to overcome that clumsiness and see if you can do that.
All right.
Ooh.
Oh wow. Rock
I'm
stars.
better than I thought.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, so you definitely manage to very quickly kind of account for that extra gravity and manage to, just very impressively, even to yourself, like, all right, I got this. Yeah, and you kind of make your way over, your bunny hops or whatever.
Yeah.
And you get to this like sort of little trench area where you kind of have to thread your mech in there, and you realize that you're gonna have to be really careful going in here because this isn't designed necessarily for something of this size, but you can squeeze it in, and so you kind of manage to do that, and your heads-up display is kind of running its little sort of diagnostics, and then the little targeting reticule kind of pinpoints on the system that you're looking for. And so you would definitely be able to kind of, make the attempt to repair this. So go ahead and roll patch up with expertise for me if you can.
And then the camera pulls out like in the opening of Babylon 5 Season 2, with the guys like, basically large arms start like welding things into place. All right, so. Patch up plus repair.
Yep.
That is an 8 plus 2, 10.
Excellent. Yeah. So go ahead and sort of give me the fiction behind how you sort of extract the broken piece and put in the new one. Yeah.
Knowing that we have very little time, the ripper blades, basically I just flatten them out, use them as a spatula to get underneath the initial the burnt out conduit, and just flick it up and let it tumble. And there's a little thing in the back of my mind that says the company is going to get really pissed off at you for losing a burnt out conduit. And I'm like, I don't care, because this is like normally you have to account for every piece of equipment lost, but
yeah,
flick it out. I don't care. Just let it tumble off into space. The new conduit gets slid in, almost like inserting a battery. Connector pieces are just pressed against each other, and slap it down. Weld. Hit the full connectors to let the internal rods make that connection. Sidle my way, kind of scraping against the sides, of the trench to the other end. Weld. Hit the connector pieces. Basically, the right arm of this mech is like one of those pens that you have like all the different colors that you can put, like you can stick up one after the other, because it's a full engineering kit built into the hand. So clamp pulls out, comes in, turns, pulls back in, pulls out a welder. So I'm basically just going as efficiently as possible. And at some point, I'm flicking switches and whatever, turn on some nice classical music, crank it up to maximum, and we have this like little, I guess you could say, a pan out of the ship with just the classical music in the void.
Nice.
Classical meaning like classic rock?
No.
Skinner!
Free Bird, play Free Bird. No. Probably something more like. I think Barbara Seville would probably be good for fixing something. You get into the good groove.
Nice.
Anyway, I think you'd wanted to take a 10-minute.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Why don't we take 5 or 10 minutes, take a quick break, and then we'll
Sure.
back afterwards.
I will have to call it at midnight if that's okay with you.
Yep, that's fine. That was the plan.
What's midnight for you? Is that in an hour or 2?
In an hour.
Yes. In an hour, yep.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
So you're in Eastern time?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I am.
So you're in Quebec, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm gonna run to the bathroom.
I had a bit of a rough night last night, so as I was saying previously at the beginning, Kiddo is suffering from I guess what's the word I'd used? Separation anxiety.
Yeah.
So
Yep,
at
I
the
hear
middle of
that.
the night, he was demanding to like sleep on the breastfeeding pillow, and my wife needed to go to sleep, so I was carrying him around. He was like freaking out.
Oh yeah.
So
Yep.
yeah,
I hear that. I got a four-year-old that still likes to
4-year-old.
do that, and a 9-month-old who she is actually the better sleeper, which is crazy. But yeah,
What? Really? She sleeps well? Ah, you're lucky. You're
yeah.
lucky.
Well, my poor wife, she's not noisy. Like she'll wake up, but like I don't wake up, so that's kind of nice. But but I get to deal with the 4-year-old, and he usually will wake up once or twice a night. So
We
Yeah.
just gave in and co-slept.
yeah, that's what we do, and it's
I
okay.
I don't want to. I don't want to.
So if you can get away with not doing it, great. But
Yeah.
there comes that moment where you're like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's got his own room now and everything. He's like he's a year and a half, a little less than a year and a half.
Yeah.
And he will sleep through the night, except as I was saying, he wakes up at least once. Like
Yeah.
I can almost set my clock to it to the point where if I hear him cry and I'm still on the computer, I know that I've should have been in bed
Yeah. Exactly.
because it's at 1 o'clock every night.
Oh wow. Yeah. Consistently.
Consistently, I could practically set my alarm to it
Does he fall asleep easily?
fairly easily. Lately, he's been a bit more touchy in the evenings, but
Because my daughter was like, you get her to sleep, her eyes are closed, you start to leave, and it's like a cricket farted, she'd wake up.
no, this guy once
How
he's
old's your
asleep,
daughter now?
She's 11 and a half.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, new set of problems now.
yeah.
Oh, good God.
Mine just turned
Yeah.
3,
Right, I'm
so
back.
You don't understand me, my world.
God, I am not looking. You know what? I'm looking forward to that time, and I'm not looking forward to that time, because that's a whole different. I mean, he lucked out. He's a dude, so I've got a different set of problems. But still, I am not looking forward to the teenage years. But I am looking forward to be able to like role play with them and like board game with them. I have someone who can play board games with me. Yes.
Do you board game too?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I don't board game as much as I like. Just because, like, so for example, like my wife doesn't really. We can't play board games together because neither one of us likes losing.
Oh dear, yeah.
But I've got some good ones. There is a convention called Geekway to the West. It's like a pretty big size kind of board gaming convention in the Midwest, and I was there back in May.
Where are you? Where is this?
St. Louis, Missouri. So
Okay.
So every year they have this, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So yeah, I got to play the coolest game I played, believe it or not, it was called Marrying Mr. Darcy. It was a card game based on Pride and Prejudice.
I've heard of it. I've seen it go around Google.
And it's a game I wouldn't have thought that I would have liked, and maybe it had a lot to do with the people I was playing with. But like it was absolutely the most fun thing ever.
It's a great game.
Yeah. So the whole neither of us like losing thing. I guess I'm fortunate in a way. One of the reasons why I do a lot of GMing is because my personality is one that I derive pleasure from the victory of others. So I would rather be a memorable villain that loses than win against someone. Because I want to there's something about my mentality that wants to provide experiences to other people, and that happiness, that experience gives me pleasure, which is why I wrote a damn book.
And that's a great quality for a
For a GM, yeah.
GM, absolutely.
Yeah, which is why I tend to do a lot of GMing. But it's funny because at work, actually, I don't know if you guys have heard of the game For Honor that's going to be coming out soon from Ubisoft. It's like
I have, yeah.
a medieval fighting game. I've been working on that for like 4 years now. And every 6 months or so, internally in the studio, we have a tournament it's part of testing the game and stuff like that to make sure everything is balanced. But it's also just really fun to get everybody to play the game. And every year, my team has won the what we call the Iron Division. Like, I'm not a pro player. I'm not like like, we have people who, like, some of our fight designers are literally Street Fighter designers. Like, people who have worked on Street Fighter and that kind of thing. So those are like the Steel Division. That's like way out of my category. And people are like, oh, you should go to Steel. You could totally run in Steel. I'm like, no, I'd rather be a challenge for people in Iron than be just some generic person in Steel, right?
This is the game where it's like Vikings versus Samurai and all that?
Yes, Vikings versus Samurais versus Knights. Yeah, I'm a animator and mocap artist on that. So.
Oh
yeah.
my god, that's so cool. Like, I'm really into video games, so actually getting to meet somebody who works on games, like AAA games, that is amazing. I feel like you guys get unfair abuse, like when people allow themselves to get hyped up and then it disappoints.
I'm going to stop, though, right there. Okay, first off, are you recording this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're on the air.
Yeah, I'm going to say right now, anything that I say has nothing to do with Ubisoft. This is my own personal time.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of the criticism is unfair. Anyway.
No, I'm not validating criticism. I'm saying that I feel that you all are sometimes unfairly criticized for hype that people create for themselves, but which is not necessarily created by anyone who works in the industry. People turn games into things that are more than what they actually are, and then they're disappointed when it's not what they imagine.
There is that. I mean, I've had a number of people complain about the fact that there's like no magic or dragons in For Honor, and I'm like, that's totally not the point of the game. Like, why? Why would you want that? But anyway, but yeah, getting back to what I was saying, the fact that I like losing, not like losing, I like providing a challenge and then being defeated, has made me a inconsistent player. Because the fact that people will play against me and I am automatically self-adjusting my skill level to match theirs to give them a challenge. So people are like, yeah, I was able to beat them, but how come I can't beat anybody else? And you can beat them. And they don't understand that I'm constantly readjusting how much I push my skill based on my opponent, which makes me terrible to test against. Because they're like, you're holding back. I'm like, I kind of am, sorry.
Yeah. Right, it's like I can't help it. Yeah, that's funny, because I definitely GM a whole lot more than I play, and I tend to enjoy it. And it's funny because I found that for me, and I don't know if any of you guys have this, but I think I have, and this is what's drawn me to games like these, story games in particular, I have a very big aversion to very heavy rule sets, and I actually don't really enjoy the tactical thinking that sometimes goes into those types of games. I really am much more into, sort of the narrative fiction and bouncing these, back and forth with each other and developing that. And I found that I can do that in those more structured game systems as the GM.
Mm-hmm.
But as a player, I go into tactic mode because that's mostly what the other players are doing, and then I'm not enjoying myself.
Exactly, because you're trying to solve a puzzle, not create an experience.
Yeah, and then conversely, when I fight against that as a player, and I'll try to go narrative, unless I have the group of players that are similar to that, they get frustrated with it, and so then I'll back off. So I don't know if any of you guys have experienced that, but that's a weird thing for me.
I totally agree. And now I run a D&D 4E campaign for like 5 years.
Yeah.
They made it to like level 13. And the funny thing, I miss it sometimes. I didn't get the story fix, like the fix that I needed. But I look back on it and I'm like, I wish I could have accepted it for what it was rather than what I wanted it to be. What I wanted, and I didn't know at the time because it didn't exist at the time, what I wanted was the Powered by the Apocalypse style game where there was a lot of story and stuff like that. But looking back on it, I'm like, 4E especially was a board game, was a free-form board game that the DM was creating a puzzle for the players to solve. And had I approached it from that mentality, I think I would have had more fun, and it would have probably lasted longer. And that's what kind of got me into the idea that there is no one system that is the best. Each of them tries to do something different, and when people dislike a system, it's because there is a disconnect between what the system provides and what the player wants. It's not that either is bad or wrong. Right. It's just that they don't connect to each other. I think I had made a post about it on the community actually, about how a lot of the crunchier games are less like painting and more like making a cake. You don't just add random stuff because you feel like it to the cake. That's going to wreck the cake. The idea is that you follow the recipe, and the experience and the smells and the flavors and stuff like that will all come together in this wonderful culmination of, we achieved a level, we defeated the dragon, we solved the puzzle, we saved the town. Like, all of that stuff is very much, you know what you're getting at the end of the thing. You know what I mean? Like, you play a D&D for the journey to get from beginning to the end. You know where you're going with it. Whereas with, and especially what I tried to push with Uncharted Worlds, is the idea that the GM does not know where things are going. Nobody knows where things are going because it is collaboratively created and will evolve naturally as all the components, i.e. the players, are going to bounce off each other. So I really wanted to go in the opposite direction of the, well, we know where we started, we know where we ended, let's see if we can, where we want to end, let's see if we can get there by using our powers and whatever. So
I think that's great. I agree. Like, I don't care about having the coolest character or like being the dominant figure in the game. What I'm most interested in is a good story. So even if I do something that's totally stupid and makes me look really dumb, as long as the story was really good, I feel like I had a good time. That's all I want to do is see a good story. And this game has been great for that. I've played in 3 different games now, and like all 3 of them have been completely different, but they all told a really, really cool story. And the great thing about it is like this one system has played like 3 different games. And like in the case of the game we played last, Sean, it was a cyberpunk game. It was a totally different type of game than any other Uncharted World game, but it worked.
That cyberpunk game was a comedy of errors.
Yeah.
I swear. This, like, you guys could not succeed a single roll.
It was Face Stream, I told you.
That was hilarious, and I am actually really happy with the way that it turned out despite the constant errors, because it actually felt like this mounting desperation as plans collapsed, as like the house of cards that you guys, like the heist that you guys had planned and built up started collapsing as things started going wrong. It really felt like towards the end everybody was tap dancing to juggle the objective despite all of the repeated failures. That scene in the meat packing place.
Oh yeah.
I really thought that the owner of the meatpacking place, that she was going to get killed by the cyborg. Like that whole scene was amazing. Anyway, we're talking about internal stuff that half of you aren't aware of. We should probably get back to the game. I apologize.
That's okay. Well, that goes to show the versatility of this system and how fun it can be. So no, that's awesome. But yeah, why don't we get back to it? And we'll see if perhaps there's a comedy of errors for to finish this thing out or not. So all of this repair work, I would imagine, takes a little bit of time, and as that's happening, and you're able to kind of slot that in and bring things back online.
Wake. I'll be right back.
Oh yeah, no problem. The ship would have gotten within a medium range at this point, and you guys on the bridge, you get a hail from this ship. Basically a communication signal.
What can I tell anything about the ship at this distance? Like, can I?
Yeah, definitely.
I really want to know if it has weapons. Like,
it definitely has weapons. Yeah. In fact, why don't you go ahead and let's see. Go ahead and make an assessment roll for me with expertise.
Okay, +1.
All right. So you can tell that this is a warship, but that it is not galactic military. It's probably a corporate ship. It's big enough that if this thing were to take you guys on, you're going to have a hard time, especially considering right now your shields are down, your engines are not powered up, and your jump drive is just being repaired. But beyond that, you can't necessarily tell. And in fact, it's kind of masking its transponder signal, so it's not communicating who this ship belongs to. But it is sending you a hail, trying to get your attention.
So they know we're here.
Oh yeah, they know you're here. They're trying to communicate with you.
I'm gonna get back on the comms for another short, abbreviated message, and because now I've seen their personnel files, I'm gonna say, hold on, I need some names here. Carl, Iroko, to the bridge, please, and shut it off.
And I would imagine that Iroko, you would hear that through your mech's sort of comm unit, but Carl, definitely you would still be in the ship, so you guys can react to that how you will.
Do I know I'm Carl at this point?
I don't know. Do you?
I don't believe I've checked the logs. I believe I've been busy helping fix the ship.
Good point.
Yeah, that is fair. Although, yeah, I was going to say...
Although there aren't too many other people on this ship, so...
Right, there are 2 people who left the bridge. One of them knows he's Iroko. I don't know if you know.
Yeah, I think he would, because it kind of his name would have been on certain things within the
Right.
engineering bay and
Right,
whatever.
If we're done with this job fixing the ship, I will head to the bridge.
Yeah, definitely.
At this point, I'm wanting to look through the logs because at this point I'm very confused. Like, this ship, whoever Carter Jackson was pretty angry that we hadn't gotten where we were supposed to be. So apparently what we were supposed to do was pretty important. There's this large ship that is interested in us, and I have to assume that it's hostile. And I have to wonder why a ship that had such an important mission only has 4 people on it. There don't appear to be any soldiers. I can't ascertain who's the captain of the ship. So I want to do some investigation and start trying to figure out, because none of this makes sense to me.
Okay, so
and
yeah,
I have this impulse. There's something about me. I have this impulse for things to make sense and for everything to fit into a nice piece, a nice, clean picture.
all right, definitely. And you, so you can go ahead if you want and try to access more of that message if you want to, because you realize it's sort of cut off a little bit. You can make an access roll plus interface to see if you can access more of it. Yeah, but in the meantime, that communication is hailing you, and the ship is coming in, and excuse me, and Mara, you would realize that it is starting to power up something, probably a weapons system, because you're not communicating with it.
I was fully intending to wait for people to get to the bridge before playing the message.
Yep, no problem.
I am. I'm not qualified.
Sure, sure. And in the meantime, Ephraim, you kind of tap in and do your sort of digital wizardry there, and you kind of put the fragmented pieces of the message back in, and the rest of the message from Carter plays, and he says, "Man, you guys are in big trouble if you don't figure this out. You have got to call me back. I'll tell you what, the ministry is going to be pissed if you don't deliver their cargo. They've been looking for this. This is causing me a bad reputation, man." And then it says, if Ephraim gets this message, have him call me immediately.
All right. So, like, we've got a comm signal coming in? Are we capable of doing communication? I mean, obviously, we probably need to contact this person back, but we've got a more pressing matter, and that is that we need to be able to kind of get this message. Now, let me ask this: if we receive the message, as the sender, technologically, with the sender, could I assume that the sender would know that we have heard the message? Or,
I mean, it's hard to tell. They're beaming a message to your ship. Your ship does have systems up and running, so they can tell, and they would be able to scan it and tell that there are life forms aboard. So if you don't answer, they will take that as you're intentionally not answering their hail. Why that is the case, they may not know, but regardless, this ship is kind of coming in. And I would think at that point, Carl does make it to the bridge. And I would imagine that when Sean gets back, he is probably making his way back onto the ship as well. But
well,
yes.
guys, as I see it, I don't feel like we have much of a choice but to take this incoming hail.
I mean, what is the hail saying? Do they identify themselves at all?
No, in fact, it basically what this is doing is you have a communications coming in, but you haven't initiated anything yet. So all you know is that they are trying to open a communication channel with you.
Okay. Well, I think we talked to them.
Yep.
All right. So you guys access it?
Mm-hmm.
All right, and so you get a digital image, and you see basically this face on the screen. Very young, very pretty, very technologically advanced, and I would imagine, Ephraim, that you would immediately know who this is. This is Colonel Carolina Shaw. She is a high-ranking member within the ministry. Now, whether or not the ministry calls her a colonel or she was a colonel from previous service is irrelevant, but she is somebody who they send out on only the most important mission. And she kind of, comes in, and who would be actually like sort of looking at the screen, or would you guys all kind of be like, trying to avoid it a little bit?
I'm in front of the screen.
Okay. And so you see her face, and she kind of looks at you, and you get this little quirk of a smile across her face, although her eyes are just cold and dead. And she's like, "Ephraim, darling, I'm so glad you're alive and well. What have you been up to?"
I don't. Well, I'm not going to tell her that I don't know, because that's going to cause problems. So what I'm going to do here is basically I'm going to try to BS my way through this. So, everything's good.
Okay. And so she says, "Well, clearly not. You're a week past our rendezvous point. What were you thinking of, skipping away with the cargo?"
Absolutely not. There appears to have. When I say everything's good, I mean that we're all alive. You seem very happy about that. But what's happened is there seemed to have been some type of astronomical phenomenon which knocked all of our systems off. So I think it's probably delayed our trip. Surely this is something that we can make up for.
And she says, "Yes, my scans do show that your ship seems to have sustained some sort of damage, but please tell me you have the cargo and it's intact, right?
We haven't had a chance to actually get down to the cargo bay and check. We just managed to barely get ourselves out of the stasis containers.
Oh, let me put her picture back up here. Sorry. Be like, well, very well. Stand by. Don't do anything. We're coming aboard. We're going to make sure that the cargo's okay, and we'll sort this all out. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. And she powers down the communication.
And I kind of I'm trying to let out a sigh, but I don't want anyone to, because I'm kind of relieved, but I don't want anyone to notice that I'm doing it. You're muted, Sam.
Sorry, my bad. You realize that there are probably it's going to take about 10 minutes for her, maybe 20 minutes for her to kind of close in and dock and everything. And at this moment, Orogo, you've made it back on the ship. You guys could potentially, although it may not be a good idea, fire up the jump drive, but you've repaired the ship enough now that it could go back into a full working order. But clearly, she's coming to inspect this cargo, and you guys have no idea what that is yet.
And I've just realized something is real shady about this, because if this is cargo for the ministry, then we shouldn't have someone named Carter Jackson trying to contact us and asking about the cargo. We've got two different parties that are interested in what's on this ship, and we've got to figure out who we can trust, if anybody. Maybe we can't trust any of these people.
Yeah. Well, and for sure that Carolina Shaw is somebody that you don't mess with. She's the one that the ministry sends out when something has gone wrong, and usually she either gets what she's coming for or she gets blood, either way.
And I kind of related to everyone that this is a person who means business. So we've got 10 minutes to try to figure out what's going on here, because we're about to be boarded by the ministry, and these aren't just going to be nice people in suits. They've probably got some folks in power armor and all kinds of folks who are coming back, and it's all this is coming back to me that the ministry hires a lot of really strong, muscle-bound people, and they could cause us a lot of trouble. And there's no way the four of us are going to stand a chance in fighting all of these people off.
All right.
What's in the cargo bay?
Why do you speak of fighting? According to this log, I'm astrophysicist. No, I'm not going to do the accent.
But that's what doesn't make sense to me. If this ship, it's funny, that's what doesn't make sense to me about this, is if this is such an important ship, how come there's nobody on the ship that is armed or anything like that?
Well, and you're starting to get the impression that was you, but also
Exactly.
you haven't necessarily been into the engineering bay, but there is an armed thing within the engineering bay. So, you do have some sort of armed capability, but you realize that you're on a ship that isn't. It's not a warship, right? Your ship is fast. It's got good fast drives. It's got good scanners. This ship is a quick cargo ship. So you guys are here to get in and get out and get something. But Mara made a good point. What is in the cargo bay? That's probably the most pressing item at this point. So what do you guys want to do? Do you want to check that out, or do you want to try to...
If I may.
Yeah.
So, Carl said that he's an astrophysicist, and so I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. The ship would need one to calculate jumps, right? Like, you're not going to trust anybody to not send you through a planet.
Potentially, although astronavigators are not necessarily astrophysicists, they can be. So his role on the ship would certainly make sense from that perspective, but he'd be very overqualified for that. If you think about it, if you're hired on by a corporation, he would be much too expensive to just be the astronavigator.
Yeah, this is the kind of person who would be an astronavigator on the frontier beyond where computers would have already done all the calculations for us.
Yeah, and keep in mind too that you guys came from your sort of astrolog says that you came from Neptune. Neptune is well known as having a sort of secret research facility. So, potentially he was connected to that part of the mission in some way.
I'm just wondering if we need to jump, how much prep can we do to jump?
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
And I'm concerned about that, but I'm not as concerned about running away as I am remembering that I had this instinctive understanding that there was something in the cargo bay that was very important, and I have this obsession right now with going into the cargo bay and seeing what's there, and I almost kind of really want to go alone. So, like, I'm just, while everyone else is sitting around talking, I'm just kind of very slowly kind of disappearing, and maybe nobody notices because, again, I'm just this very bland, generic-looking guy, and I'm kind of sneaking out to try to get to the cargo bay.
I think I would have noticed. You sort of protected me, I guess. So I'm
and Mara was also interested in what was in the cargo bay.
yeah.
That totally makes sense to me, yeah.
Yeah, and
I'm gonna
Iroko
try
would
to
be
follow
coming
you
in
around
from
and stick
the
with you
other-
like a.
Yeah, from the other
But yeah,
side.
I guess,
So.
Carl, you and I are kind of discussing how much prep can we do to jump in case things go, pear-shaped.
I'm assuming their sensors will pick up.
They certainly would. Yeah, I mean, you realize.
Anything that involves powering up the engines, you could maybe plot in a course, but that would be it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Now, to that point, you guys would be able to think, okay, chances are, if she's on the ship, the warship probably won't fire on you. You also, but you don't know for sure. You also could ascertain that being that you basically will have to fully cycle the jump drive because it was fully powered down, it'll probably take a good 30 minutes or so to fully cycle up. Now, that gives you plenty of time to put in a short jump, but,
They'll spot it.
Yeah,
It'll be very
it's
obvious.
going to take her at least 20 minutes to get in anyway, but yeah, there's a good chance that,
Okay, well, just
only
covering
takes
her.
2 seconds to press the laser button.
Yeah.
Pew pew!
So, go ahead.
Actually, that's a question. How do you know that you're a physicist?
I'm just like on the bridge reading the logs.
I kind of sidle up to the console.
Yes, see over here where it says I'm a wormhole specialist.
Wormhole specialist. Very nice. Congratulations.
Wormhole specialist.
Am I on here?
It was my particular field of esoteric research.
Am I on here at all? Is anybody else on the crew here?
Yes, well, here it all is, right? I show them the...
Yeah,
Alright, cool.
You see that, and
Yeah.
Sean, you would definitely see your personnel record. And what would it say in the personnel records for Iroko that it would lead you to this shady life of potential crime?
Oh, right. So, flicking through, and, there's, like, wife deceased, like 4 kids, a whole bunch of grandkids, like, like all the relationships and stuff like that. I'm just, like, scrolling through, scroll. And then it comes up to, there's... Sorry, I had this up, and I lost it since. My apologies. Two seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, so there we go. I got it. Is basically a huge list of disciplinary actions for the Almatea massacre. Specifically, the Warmech has seen use in a major mining uprising, and I sided with the corporation violently. And as it turns out that I have the blood of roughly 120 miners on my hands. Because, well, the chain gun tends to be very indiscriminate about that kind of thing. So I'm just like scrolling through the names of each of the deceased that
Yeah.
are under my names, and I'm just like scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and just like I'm like, no, that's not right. That's obviously not me. I wouldn't do this. And then the list ends, and it's just like, pardoned by the mining company for necessary actions, and all traces erased. And then, like, last known is returned to civilian life. Like, literally, my career was sided with a mining company against a armed insurrection, opened fire on 120 miners and killed them all, and then went home to my grandkids.
Yep.
And I'm just like,
Very grim.
You're a great guy.
yeah,
And
yeah.
nice, yeah.
Oroko's basically in shock at this point. He's just like staring at the screen, and then he just hits replay, and he just starts scrolling through all the names again.
And
Not good on the comm link.
yeah.
Rocco is going to be out of commission for a little while here.
Well, and Carl, what before he got on, and when you checked your personnel record, what was the really kind of shady or distasteful thing that you did that kind of maybe took you out of high esteem within the scientific community and led you to this band of
Wormhole
villains?
research is very expensive to fund, and it's also highly controversial, because it doesn't follow an established model of physics. And, well, if corners had to be cut to make the experiments happen, corners were cut. Then deans found out. Deans don't like it when corners are cut, so perhaps tenure can be revoked. And, well, worst comes to worst. So this is the only way I can carry on my research, is by working for these
Yeah.
flea-bitten merchants.
Awesome. Okay. And so, yeah, so you guys are seeing that, and you're kind of coming to this. And in the meantime, the other two have gone to the cargo bay. And it's strange, right? So, Ephraim, you seem to know instinctively where to go. Like this is starting to come back to you, and you have these sort of flashbacks, these images in your head of entering this research facility and carrying out this large crate, this like sort of magnetically sealed crate, and it actually took you and Oroko, like you had to bring it out on this like repulsor sled. It was kind of big, and Oroko the whole time you have this image of him like, be careful, this is very delicate, be careful. And you're like, I know. And you see you see like Carl just sort of like super excited about this thing, like from a professional level. He's really interested in this, and the whole time Mara was there too, and she was like doing all kinds of digital wizardry, like unlocking doors and shutting down cameras. Like she is this just scary kind of badass thing. And then and like you get this distinct sense that like at one point this guard comes by, just like it's gonna catch you, and then all of a sudden, like out of nowhere, he just slams up against the wall as if like some sort of psychic force pushed him, and just he smacks his head and goes, and you guys get out and you make it to your ship, and you guys are just, and so you kind of cut back to reality, right? And you're looking at this, this like crate sitting in your cargo hold, and it's weird because there's no other cargo in here, which is very strange if you were just like a merchant, but clearly you're not. And so you kind of go up to this thing, and you kind of type in your little access code, and it opens up, and you have no idea what this is.
I hope it's not a pod.
No, it's not a pod.
It's a pod inside of a pod.
Yeah.
Podception.
You see this alien from the movie Alien come out. No, it's a predator. No, just kidding. You're like, yeah, we're done. But you're looking at this thing, and it's this mechanical device, and it's just radiating with this energy. And you can see this internal power supply, but it looks like this is something that would attach to a larger device. And you just remember Ephraim being like, you got to be careful. This thing is delicate, but it's super powerful. And Mara, you would see this as well. And you would start to sort of remember a little bit about this thing and part of that scene that I described earlier. But what do you guys do when you see this?
I'm like, we gotta be careful. I just repeat that phrase. We gotta be careful with this tomorrow.
I'd take a few steps back. I mean, if it's radiating energy, I'm a little nervous. It's dangerous just being out here.
Yeah.
So I don't want to really get close to it.
And you remember too that it seems as though Carl and Ephraim, they would know. They seem to know what this thing is, or at least in your vision they did.
Well, also, I've probably got security cameras in the cargo hold.
Well, yeah, and so are you, to that point, would you be kind of seeing what they're doing?
Yes. What am I looking at?
Yeah, so you would immediately... Yeah, oh yeah, you would immediately know what this is. And again, kind of in a flashback scene, you would remember that the reason you were hired on this job was because there was this experimental blink drive that was being worked on in the Neptune research facility, and the rumor was that it basically could create this like wormhole or some sort of astronomical event that could instantly take you from one side of space to the other. But it was very experimental, and the corporation, this was actually funded by the Galactic Authority. So this was not a ministry project, but the ministry wants this because if they can get this drive, they will have unbelievable power. So you recognize what this is, and if for some reason you could get away with this, you guys would be set for life if it works.
I'm eager to find out if it works.
And would you share this with
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah, and so Ephraim,
You're
similar.
looking at the blink drive.
Yeah, similar situation. You would feel this like this sort of tug on your memory, and you would be like, "Oh my God!" And the sudden realization you were there for the intent, the specific reason to one, make sure that this thing stayed intact, but also potentially if you needed to install this somewhere, wherever it was going. So you know how valuable and how dangerous this thing is too.
Which is why I said we gotta be careful with this.
Yep. And as you guys kind of have that realization, you can feel that you sort of hear this clunk, and the ship kind of shudders a little bit, and you can tell that the ship outside had docked onto your, they've kind of, the clamps have come on, and they're kind of getting, sealing the airlock, so to speak, so that they can transfer over. So what are you guys gonna do?
Very sad. We should have hooked this up earlier.
Well,
can you do it now?
Yeah, and Ephraim, you realize this thing is powered up. Like you could potentially, install this thing pretty quick.
Yeah, I could, but the question, I think that I've got a kind of a conflict going on in my mind because, I now understand that I work for the ministry, and they kind of put me here to make sure that this got where it was going. And we've had a ministry person come and look for it. But there's something instinctual about this that I'm remembering. I'm having flashbacks to different things that happened. Like I'm flashing back to being a child and being taken in to a ministry facility and being trained under all of this tight regulation and all of the martial arts training and everything to help me stay like emotionally blank so that I don't betray myself or betray emotions. And I'm remembering myself being having these modifications done as a reward for all of my hard work, and remembering my time in jail, and remembering that that was nothing more than that was one of my first missions, and that the whole going to jail thing was just a pretext to make contact with people inside of the jail. And then I'm remembering that I am actually a part of a cell in the ministry that doesn't get along with the part of the ministry that our colonel is from, and it's going to be in our best interest to power this thing up so that we can get it away from her, because if she gets it, it's going to be very bad for my faction in the ministry.
Yeah, and you guys would probably figure too that this is such important technology that if a powerful corporation gets it, you guys may no longer be necessary. And Oroko, you realize you could install this thing pretty quickly, probably within like 5 or 10 minutes. If you really push yourself, you could probably do it faster.
Do it!
I want to fly this so bad. I don't care about the politics. I want to press the button.
you want to rip some holes in space.
They are docked with us. What happens to the other ship?
That's a good question.
Well, let's find out.
Well, and not to mention, you could probably...
If that ship is going to be left behind with a chunk of our ship.
Yeah.
Oh, because they're actually docked with us.
Yeah,
Yes.
they are.
And those, believe me, I'm remembering enough to know that those docking clamps are no joking matter. Those will tear the ship apart if they decide to go into 2 different dimensions.
So that leaves you guys with a bit of a predicament.
We might be lucky. We might flip the coin and rip their ship apart. So, the important thing is right now, we need to manually unlock them, I guess. Because there's no way that they're going to accept undocking procedures.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking your mechs are probably one of our better opportunities to be able to do that.
Anybody else know how to pilot one of these things? I've got 3.
I'm remembering. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, I was going to say, the one thing I would say, you can certainly do that, but keep in mind that they've basically docked, so that you would have to go basically through the airlock that they would be coming in with a mech, and potentially try to, or somehow you could try to get out on the other side of the ship. But you could theoretically hack the system, the computer, because these are all sort of electronically. You could do that. You could try to just rip your ship away, or you could, try the mech thing too. But the one thing Ephraim, is that Colonel Shaw is expecting to meet you. If she comes onto the ship and you're not there, she's going to be pissed.
I'm going to go with, and before I go, I want to say to everybody, I'll deal with the clamps. Can somebody install the drive?
All right, I'll install the drive.
And I think I'm going to wait. I'm almost kind of thinking like if there's a way we could get. I'm wondering. This is just me thinking out loud. If we have her on the ship when we do our jump, that kind of gives us a bargaining tool. But at the same time, she's probably going to be escorted, which means that we're also bringing along whoever she brings along. And if they're just normal folks, or maybe they're just modified like me, I might be able to take them. But if these are folks in big, heavy, like cutting-edge glitter world power armor, even I might not be able to take out a squad of those.
Yeah, true. Although they're probably easier to deal with than the entire warship with its big guns. So, there's that to consider as well.
So I think that what I may do here is I might try to pull a ruse, and I may go to the docking area to try to get her on the ship, and maybe not bring any of her accompaniment with her, and then try to get the jump going. So I want to know, Okoro, sorry, I'm dyslexic. or
No,
no, it isn't Roku. Okay, I was right. How long do you think it's going to take you to get this thing installed? I want to try to to get her on the ship, and I get a couple minutes to stall, but I need to kind of time this precisely, so I need to know how long it's going to take for her to, or how long it's going to take for you to install this.
probably only 5-10 minutes. I just need to just get everything hooked up. It's just a matter of plugging things in. That said, I completely forgot also that their ship is bigger than ours. The chances of us ripping apart are greatly increased. So yeah, the actual docking clamps are the big problem. But yeah, if you can access their systems and tell them and have their computers to unlock us, that would be cleaner than my solution, which was manually blowing up the clamps. But yes, all right.
I had an idea, and it's crazy. And that idea was for I don't know what the interfaces in the mix are, because my idea was possibly for Mara to have her AI take control of one of the mechs and essentially remote operate that and detach the clamps and then hit the drive.
We could see, but let's see. You actually hear the clamps starting to detach. But actually, let me back this up first. So what happens is the door to the airlock opens as you're kind of like making your way up, and I would imagine you would see Mara's kind of near you, and I don't know if perhaps like her eyes would kind of glaze over or whatever, but like you could tell she's in.
I do the head tilt thing where I'm listening to something like.
Yeah, nice. And you could tell something's happening, and the airlock opens, and you see Colonel Shaw come in escorted with two men in full laminate armor, like the full soldiers. They got machine guns trained on you, and the airlock closes behind her. And before she can even say anything, you hear the clamps start to unlock. Now, keep in mind that this has taken a little while, so you guys were making your way to that area, and this was happening while Iroko is kind of working on trying to install that. So let's see how Iroko does.
Grab the huge cables, jam them into the various sockets, turn clamp. So this is a patch up.
Yep, patch up with expertise. I think.
Technically, patch in.
Yeah. And
right.
yeah.
Oh, good. Blah, blah. It's a 7.
Ooh, okay, gotcha. And Rob, what you were doing? Get involved with expertise, right? So what is yours?
That's
7 or more?
That's an 8.
An 8. Okay. So, Iroko, you are successful. You do install it, and with the help of Carl, you know that this is going to work, right? And you hear the clamps undock, but you realize this is going to take a massive amount of power from the ship, and you realize that you are going to have to probably quickly reroute power. You're basically going to have to make a blind jump. You're not going to have enough power to make a navigational jump, but the two of you guys kind of figure out, okay, we can just punch this thing, and theoretically, it's going to pull us into another dimension of space, and we're going to come out somewhere else. We just don't know where that's going to be.
Oh, I'm up on the bridge doing this.
No.
Right up.
I am going to like I see the calculations go by, because obviously at this point everything is linked between bridge and engineering, and I'm like, I guess the last things that I say before the jump happens is, "You wouldn't dare."
Nice. And before you guys make the jump, Ephraim, you're standing there. You see Colonel Shaw make it. She opens her mouth to speak to you, and then stops, and you can hear her like hand go up to like her unit on her, and she's like, "Repeat that? What? and then you can hear the clamps undocking, and immediately, almost as if like in unison, you see the two soldiers' guns just come up, pointing right at you. And she looks at you, and she says, "Ephraim, what is this? What are you doing?"
Can
What?
I can I slam the soldiers back against the wall?
Ooh, yeah. I would say you definitely can.
Wait,
Now,
what? I haven't seen your character sheet. What do you mean slam soldiers against the wall?
Telekinesis.
telekinesis. Now,
Well-
I don't know, Sean, if that was what you intended for this move,
Absolutely. Yes.
but I'm going to let it.
I specifically,
And
I
after-
specifically didn't mention object. You'll note in the language of it, I didn't mention object because I was like, you're gonna want to throw people occasionally.
Now, I think that this is going to be a launch assault. With Sean, would you say metal would make sense? Can you use metal sort of for your mind?
Yes, but I'm
The move actually says physical strength to manipulate, blah, blah,
Oh,
blah.
okay.
Projected
it's-
physical moves still use physique.
Physique. Oh, perfect. Okay, great. Then yeah, do that.
Um,
I
so
did
I
not
got
see
a plus
roll.
1. Oh, ow!
Oh no.
Oh,
That's
that's 6.
So you kind of
Dice
tilt your
3.
head the other way, and you narrow your eyes a little bit, and you focus this energy, and you feel like you see one of the soldiers' guns actually lift up, like he almost, but he rights himself, and then the other one doesn't quite know what's going on, but it takes a shot. And so so you're gonna get to go ahead and face adversity. If you're gonna try to dodge out of the way, do it with metal.
Yeah, that's a 0. That's okay. Oops. Well, it's a 4.
Oh dear.
Awesome.
Yeah.
The little psychic girl got shot.
You just shot a 13-year-old girl.
And I take it you don't have any armor, right?
I do.
No.
Do you?
I have a skin suit that is
Ah. Okay. So you can go ahead and brace for impact plus
Sounds
your
like
armor.
Bill.
Yep.
Skin suit.
Come
That's,
on,
that's
extreme.
Come
It's
on,
a
Dice
term
Stream.
from Hyperion Cantos.
I know. All I can think of is Silence of the Lambs.
Plus 1.
So 8. All right. So
Kind of okay.
you suffer an injury of that severity. Oh boy. All right. Well, you get to suffer a nice critical injury, because this guy just opened up on you. And Ephraim, you see this happen, and you basically see Mara get gunned down. Now she's not dead yet, but man, she's in bad shape. But before that happens, do you guys punch the drive
Do I punch the drive?
into effect? I take it
Yes.
that's a yes.
Yes.
I have no control over it. All I can do is unplug it again.
So you hear gunfire, right? And then
All my dreams are about to come true.
yep, you do it, and all of a sudden, it feels like your teeth are gonna get pulled out of your head. It feels like your eyes are gonna pop. Like everything just feels horrible. And for a minute, everything like kind of goes into almost suspended animation. Everything slows down, and you feel as though you're going through this jelly, and everything starts to constrict a little bit. And you see the soldier with the bullets, like, lining up for another shot, going to try to shoot at Ephraim, but everything kind of slows down, and then all of a sudden, as if to sort of, I don't know, juxtapose that point, everything lurches forward really fast. You guys all fall down, and Carl, the last thing you remember is this intense sense of sort of glee as you realize that this thing has worked, and then abject terror as you realize that your ship is literally trying to rip itself apart. And you all black out. And that's where we're going to end it.
Finn.
Are we gonna roll the wild jump now, or
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, let's roll it.
Let's go ahead and roll it. Who wants to roll it? Do you want Carl to do that?
Carl has to roll it because he hit the
Yeah.
button. Carl has to roll it.
So let's see, that's
You
By
just
the
roll
way,
straight
I'm just
2d6.
imagining
I'll
that.
do the roll, and then someone tell me what I'd add to it.
I'm imagining that
Nothing.
freeze frame time, that slow time, being just as Mara was getting hit. So you got like the droplets of blood and stuff like that, and like the bullets
And-
going through her.
For some
Yep.
reason, your
Like-
mech was still playing classical music at this point.
Of
Yeah.
course it is. Of course it
Oh
is.
my gosh!
Oh my god! Are you Dice Stream?
Nice!
Oh dear God!
So,
Ugly, debilitating, terrifying consequences.
for anybody who's watching, this is where the GM. This is why this game is so much fun, because although the GM doesn't roll dice, when you get a 6-, especially when you get boxcars, snake eyes, bad shit happens. So you come back into consciousness, and you realize that you are somewhere. You're in a physical form, and your memories have all returned. Right? You fully remember everything that happened. Right before you see the ship just and sort of break open, and you're vented into space. The end.
Everybody died.
Yep. So thank you guys so much for playing.
Because lives were saved or destroyed by science.
Yeah, we'll do that in just a minute. Actually, that's a good point. Yeah, why don't we take a look at the finishing moves? Because I think you guys fulfilled, or the XP, because I think you guys fulfilled a lot of them. I think a piece of junk proves pivotal. What do you think, Okara? You did use a piece of junk to help Rob get
Several
out of there and
several
fix stuff?
times.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
completely forgot.
Well, but you failed, so it wasn't really pivotal, was it?
Well, the crowbar ended up being successful.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because without Carl, you guys wouldn't necessarily have made it anywhere.
We also would have lived.
Well, yeah, you might not have. Who knows?
Right.
Let me see what.
We just exploded. Something can happen.
Yeah, and then I think.
Arrive and beam us on board.
I will say that the whole I got my memory back thing, I'm like, the thing my character would have said was, I was happier without it.
Yeah,
Like,
that would make sense.
like my character, like, especially that he had to live with what he had done. He's like, you know what? Losing memory, not that bad, not as bad as people claim.
Yeah, although you didn't actually have to live with it, so that's good.
Yeah, there was a brief moment that I had to live with it.
Yeah, that's true. So what do we think for Ephraim? And an act is performed covertly.
Well, technically, Okoro never noticed that I was the one who knocked him out of the way when he was about to get hit with the spark.
I suppose.
Yeah.
Remember that we have a maximum of 3 XP per session anyway. So
Right.
as long as 3 out of 4 of us got our
True.
Yeah, so I don't know if that one necessarily works, because
Doesn't matter.
Actually, no. I would say that Mara's hijacking of the system to unlock was a covert operation.
yeah, okay.
Mara, that
Okay.
Mara basically covertly entered their systems and unlocked them from us.
Good point. Yeah, I would say that makes sense.
I was planning on telekinesising the clamps off if that all failed, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Good to have a backup ladder.
And Rob, what was your advancement move? Do you remember?
In life, what was it here? I had to take it because it said science.
Yeah.
It was, let me scroll back. A life is saved or destroyed by science.
Well, that was
Destroyed? Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
6 lives.
6 lives.
All right. So there you go. You guys gain 3 XP. Doesn't matter because you're all dead. But for any viewers, that's the beauty of this system. That's how advancements work. Unlike, bonds, for example, in Dungeon World or gaining XP for failure, you gain XP through accomplishing some sort of advancement, and when it happens, everyone benefits from it. So I want to thank you guys. This was really great. Sean, especially thank you for making the game, for taking the time to play with us. This has been really
I will
awesome.
say, just as a caveat for people who are watching, normally Snake Eyes doesn't mean instant death of the entire party. This is just,
Right.
just because this is a one-shot that we're not planning on playing again. That's why we just got wiped out. Normally, especially a double one on a wild jump, is the GM's opportunity to throw the players into whatever situation they want. We could be orbiting a sun too close in the next episode or whatever, massive radiation and really, really hammer down the players, hurt them hard.
Yeah.
But in this case, ripping the ship apart is a perfect ending, especially on a double one. I mean, if nothing else,
conscious thought before he asphyxiated was, I was right.
if nothing else, Dice Stream has a sense of narrative to give us that double one at the very last roll before ending sessions. So.
It does, yeah. And Justin would remember from playing in my first ever Uncharted Worlds game that their wild jump to end their game put them, I believe, crashing onto an uncharted world.
Right.
Yeah.
The two games ended the same way, with somebody bleeding out on the ship.
Yep, exactly.
Me last time.
Wait, really? The two games ended up with somebody bleeding out on the ship and then a failed wild jump?
Yep.
Yeah, so it seems
amazing.
like Sam has he's got some themes that are constant in his game.
Yeah, except that it's based on the dice roll. I mean, so it was crazy. But yeah, I wouldn't have normally blown up the ship, but like you said, it's a one shot and we were up against the clock.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that people aren't like, whoa, this game is really super tough. No, you can pull your punches. You can pull your punches.
No,
I was
not
imagining some Event Horizon thing where it's like, hey, you brought some demons out.
That was when I wrote that move. That Event Horizon was one of the. I mean, it's full of stars, kind of.
Cool. Well, thank you guys all for playing. I'm going to go ahead and end the broadcast. But yeah, keep an eye out in the future for more of these games. I think hopefully the next game I'm going to run of Uncharted Worlds is going to be Firefly. So look forward to that. And this is Chalice and Chains signing off.